Hello. I'm being loud and obnoxious. That was a
hello.
horrible way to start a podcast. Hi, I'm Eric Allen. I'm here with Joe Drilling. He didn't say anything. Mike
I'm
Ailes.
Joe Drilling. That's me. here.
I'm Mike Clipping
Hello.
And
Ailes.
Kurt Adam.
I am also
And we're
here.
on the stick at the 2018 Sticky Awards.
Mm-hmm. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Look
a
at
beautiful
that.
statue.
Golden
It's, I
branch
mean,
there.
many great game characters have carried that statue in our podcast images, from Reinhardt to Super Mario. And
It is a solid 24 karat gold. We are ruining
It's-
ourselves giving these things out.
yeah, we're hundreds
to
of
sell my
thousands of
house.
dollars in the hole because we mail these giant statues to fake video game characters every year. It's probably not a great plan. Anyway, this is the podcast that we do every year where we talk about our favorite games from the previous year. We are the last ones to do this. We determine these scientifically, so this is the definitive list of the best games of 2018 because we definitely all played everything and are experts.
No arguments.
According to 4 random dudes on the
I'm
internet.
not a random dude, man.
You know, played a handful
I'm a
of
video
stuff.
game expert. Anyway,
I am also a random dude off the internet.
yeah.
True words. That never
All
been
right,
spoken.
so as per usual, we all picked our top 10 games, and then we used math to mathematically,
power of the
algorithmically
spreadsheet.
determine the best video games.
And as usual, our top 10 list has 25 games on it.
Well, our top 10 list has
Exactly.
11 games on it, and then there's a
That's
bunch of
true.
also
To be fair.
rans.
Yes, and we will also note, you know, that we do this arbitrarily. Things may change. If you like things that we didn't talk about, good on
Yeah.
you. You don't like the things
Hey.
we don't talk about, get your own
if
goddamn
there's
podcast.
something that we didn't talk about that you like politely suggest it, and I might check it out because I like playing weird video games.
Yeah, it's
Always.
true. As we've noted at various times earlier today, as well as on previous streams, you know, this is a fantastic time for video games. There's lots of really good going out all the time, and so it's hard to play
There
them
are
all.
too many good video games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice
Just don't
problem
be a
to have.
D-bag is basically all we.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if you think something that you think the number one thing we picked is garbage, that's cool. You don't have to like it. But I'll note we're doing this while we're streaming Extra Life stuff as well. And while we've been doing that stream, you know, I've actually been spending a lot of time watching chats and relaying stuff in there. We will probably not be doing that as well during this because we'll actually
Yeah,
be
it's
trying
too
to
distracting.
speak somewhat coherently about what's
no
going
chat for this.
or at least as coherently.
We're in the
as we
isolation
do.
chamber, at least until Alex and Anthony and Coffee crash the fucking Discord at some point.
Bust in.
But
in about an
we can
hour.
deal with that. We know how to deal with them. We know how to we know how to
Well,
filter the
We'll-
things they say.
We'll try
out.
and pick those things up, and we may, you
Yeah.
know.
Anyways,
go
But
back and
absolutely
make fun of
talk
them.
amongst
Anyway,
yourselves
if-
and-
Yes,
if you're checking this
absolutely.
out on YouTube after the fact, or if this ever comes out as a podcast, which the last two haven't, but maybe this one will, who knows? You can go to onthestick.com and donate to our Extra Life campaign. It goes to the Children's Miracle
do.
Network's hospitals. It's a really good cause, and we've been raising for that charity for 7 years now. And it's a good thing. So without further ado, we're going to transition into our first runner-up, which is Vermintide 2. I don't have the list up, so I can't say who voted for this, but I played it.
It was me. I voted for it with my very last spot.
It's one of the 3 games tied for number 23.
Yeah.
So on our top 10 list, this is one of 3 that is 23.
this is-
It got
this
1
is
point
definitely-
out of a possible
Yeah.
40.
This is the also receiving votes
Right.
section of the.
Yeah, we usually cover the because if it was worth somebody throwing it on their list, then they should say a few words about it.
But we're not going to spend
relatively
a lot of these.
go relatively quickly.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, kind of at the very bottom of my list, there's a couple of games that I could have either taken or left, and it could have been kind of one of several. This one I enjoyed. I had a good time playing. It's basically Left 4 Dead with rats instead of
And loot.
zombies, and loot, and incredibly ridiculous voice
and
acting.
leveling and hero powers.
and leveling and hero powers. But it's really it's basically Left 4 Dead, right?
It's good. I really had
Right.
I had a great time playing this. This was in my final 15. It was a strong consideration for making my top 10, but it missed it. But I did have a great time playing this, running around hitting rats with clubs and shooting them with bows and stuff.
Lighting them on fire and then exploding myself because I held the fire button down a little too
Hell
long.
yeah! Depending on which character you play as,
I like-
yeah.
I like that it has the weird stuff hidden in the levels, like the grimoires and things you can pick up, but you have to do like weird first-person
Right.
platforming to find them and sacrifice like item slots so that you can bring them back and try and get
Yeah.
better loot
Because
for
there's
your
a
next
constant
run.
time pressure, but it is kind of they try to make it worth your while to also explore the levels, which is very nice.
So the people hopping around on the rafters of burned out houses and things like that. It's not bad. It's a decent little game. We should play it again sometime.
I agree. I never actually finished all
should
of
play
the
it for the
different
first time.
campaigns. Oh, that's right. I was capturing
This
this
is,
footage and I picked quick play and it put me into a game that took a really long time to load and then it was right at the end, so it just loaded me right into the loot receiving screen. So this is like the worst gameplay footage imaginable.
That's the good story, though.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun.
All
This
right,
is
well,
a Warhammer thing, right?
Yes, this is Warhammer.
related?
Warhammer.
right.
one of the 85 Warhammer games that
Yeah,
came
this
out
is
this year.
actual Warhammer. So what's up next?
Yeah.
Next is WarioWare Gold.
Turns out it's pretty hard to capture
Nice.
footage from a 3DS game, but here's a pretty
Unless
image.
you have a modded 3DS that's made for that. Yeah, this was my number 10, and the reason that it was my number 10 is basically just because like I still like WarioWare, but like this game literally adds nothing new to WarioWare.
Yeah, that actually is why I didn't put it on my list. I was considering it, and it's not that. It's not. It's just more WarioWare, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But
I also only
That's
played like
all it is.
11 new games in 2018, so like
This was the one that didn't get the nod.
you know, it's just it's really fun if you like WarioWare. It's a bizarre thing that they put it on the 3DS instead of the Switch. I don't fully understand that, but it's fine. And if you like WarioWare, it's super fun. But for me, like I get through all the mini games like once or twice, and then I'm sort of like I'm done with this forever.
Yep, exactly.
So I don't know. It was cool. It's cool because it's got a ton of mini games.
Is this
It
the one with the
has-
crazy multiplayer mode in it?
I didn't play it multiplayer, so I don't know the answer to that. That probably would be super fun if it is.
I did not either.
Is that, or maybe was there a Wii U one?
No, that's a game.
Is that a GameCube one? I
think.
don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
WarioWare is dope.
WarioWare is
Yep.
dope. It's just this one. This is literally not reinventing the wheel in any. Like I don't know that there are any new games in this one. I'm not sure, but I feel like this is just a compilation of existing.
Listen,
WarioWare games.
I need to get up on my microphone for this. I need to tell Nintendo something. Nintendo, listen. Nintendo, listen to me. You have to re-release all the old Wario games in some kind of compilation. We need all of those
Yeah.
games to come back. You need to make, and then you need to make a
Yeah.
new one.
He means Wario, not Wario.
Not WarioWare. I mean Wario games. I mean Wario Land.
Yeah.
And oh man,
A new one of those.
Yeah,
would
a
be
new
good
one of those
too,
would be real
actually.
good.
So just the last one wasn't that. Last one looked
Yeah.
really good, but wasn't actually.
anyway,
That fun.
WarioWare is also good. I like
Right.
WarioWare too.
Yeah, WarioWare's a lot
Yep.
of fun.
All right, what's next?
All right.
That's
The third number 23 game is one that I voted for in my last, which is Yoku's Island Express, which is a hybrid platforming pinball game, and it is as nuts as you would think.
Like you
something,
do.
yeah, something like that is. It's a pretty competent pinball game, and it also has platforming and exploring and so on. It's got nice visuals. It's got a world, a pretty large world for you to explore around and find stuff in.
And it's better than Sonic Spinball.
It's better than Sonic Spinball, yeah. And it was a lot of fun to play this. A lot of the games that I vote for in these kinds of things are games where it's like, because I play a lot of different games, and the ones that sort of grab my attention and I keep playing them until I'm done with them are the ones that I sort of push for more, are more likely to end up on my list. And this was one of those games. Essentially, I got it, and banged through it in like 5 or 6 days, just sort of churning through the thing and playing it. I just thought it was a lot of fun.
It looks charming as
Yeah,
all
I
get
want to
out.
check that out.
It
That's
is.
one of the myriad games that, man, you know what? Pinball Quest on the NES was a fucking dope ass game, or it was a dope ass concept for a game that was not a very good game. And the idea that somebody maybe made a pretty good one of those is pretty appealing to me. But I
Yeah.
don't.
It's a pinball game. It's a platforming game. The pinball sections sometimes have boss fights
Yeah.
in them.
Is there a
pretty
pinball
fun.
shopkeeper that beats the crap out of you if you try to steal from him? Okay.
No, sadly no.
All right.
So-
Anything else?
All right, so now moving on. Number 22, Dragon Ball Fighters.
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 Yeah,
Fighters.
I'm still not sure if it's Dragon Ball
It's
Fighter
Fighter
Z
Z.
or Dragon Ball Fighters.
It's Fighter Z.
Is it-
It's a pretty Fighter-y game when you
Yeah.
get right down to
Why
it.
isn't there a space then? That's
Yeah,
what
why
I
isn't
don't
there
know.
a space?
Z
That's
is
my
capital.
question.
I don't look, man.
And doesn't it also have characters from Dragon Ball GT?
Look, man,
so like,
I-
why does that?
I don't know a
what?
lot about Dragon Ball, and I don't know a lot about fighting games. I have not played a significant amount of time. I've not put a significant amount of time into a fighting game since, like, Soul Calibur, maybe. I don't know. Like that Street Fighter 2 re-release on the Xbox Live Arcade like 10 years ago. That might have been the last time I spent like any time playing a fighting game. But I saw this and I said, man, that looks fucking crazy. It looks fucking amazing. The animation is amazing. This, like, what they do with the cell shading technology that looks like stylistically
Yeah,
cool,
I have
but
not
not
played
that great
this
on
at
the
all.
PlayStation 2 like 20 years ago. Like fucking Arxis has that shit figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not played this at all, but I've watched you guys play it. Well, I guess I did play it. Like,
Let's say
for
you
about
played it at
5
my place.
minutes
Yeah,
at
in
your
August
place.
when we were all together.
I didn't play it
Yeah.
very much, but watching it is amazing. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
unbelievable what
The-
they pulled
the-
off with
the
it.
animation
Yep.
is
And it's pretty
insane.
fun to play. I couldn't like the other two people in our friend group that bought this are pretty good at fighting games. Like they're whatever. I'm like bottom 10% and they're like top, like 50% or 40%
Yeah,
or
we have
whatever.
some insanely
And so I
good
tried to play
fighting
against them, and
game
if they played
fights.
for real, then they just kicked my ass all the time. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't played fighting games in a long time, so a lot of the stuff that's going on in this game, even though you can kind of mash out combos and not have to do special moves and stuff, just went like over my head. But I just had a lot of fun just like seeing all the different moves and seeing the different ways that they interact. And we were playing it on Joe's couch while Joe and Kurt and Mike were playing a board game. And there's this like one guy that can transform into the other characters, and we like had one of him on each team, and we were transforming so much that we forgot who was who, and I was laughing my ass off. And it's just a good fucking time. And also like this was maybe the only time I ever enjoyed watching a fighting game tournament was
Yeah.
the tournament that
Right.
what's his face Sonic Fox
That Evo?
won earlier this year. So that's Dragon Ball. I think people that like fighting games say it's a good fighting game, and I had a great time with it, and that's what I needed. So
Yep.
I would
Solid.
love to see this done with a property that I care about and not one that I kind of hate, because I don't like Dragon Ball
I don't
at all.
like the
like-
show, but I like the art.
Yeah, I mean, I like that.
know?
That
Toriyama?
Yeah.
Toriyama's style. Yeah,
His
what-
art
what I don't get is
translates
they're doing this-
really
they're
good
doing
to
this-
video games.
Yeah, they're doing this jump crossover thing, and they're doing it as like an ugly like Unreal Engine thing that where the characters all look kind of vaguely realistic or almost like claymation kind of. And I'm like, why not just do it like Dragon Ball Fighter Z?
Mhm.
Like,
Oops, we ran out of
I have no
Dragon
idea.
Ball.
Because that's
I don't
hard.
know.
Because there's one studio that's really good at doing that.
Yeah.
All right.
Shall we move on to the next
Anyways.
thing?
I think this next
Yeah, we
one's a
ran out
good
of
game.
footage. Number 21 is Astrobot Rescue Mission, which is a game I put on the list.
I legitimately don't even know what this is.
It's a PSVR game. So I got a PSVR before Christmas, and this was one of the games that was included in it. And it's basically a platforming game in VR. You control a little robot who is running around trying to rescue robots, hence the name, in various stages. And you're not
You're in the
you're not
world
playing from
as
the
a
point of view.
giant
Yeah,
head.
as a playing in view of you're playing as someone who's controlling the robot who is in the world as
You're like a
one.
weird
You're
tank.
actually you're like a disembodied.
Well, you're like a weird
robot, or not disembodied, but just a
you're like a
torso
weird
and head.
tank
Like
with a long
Zardoz.
neck, and
Yeah.
then you can kind of see yourself in the reflection
can see
of
yourself at
buildings
various
and stuff.
times.
Or you can actually like you
Yeah,
can
and
look
you can
and see
actually-
your body. I think if you angle yourself.
Yeah,
the
you
right
can
way.
interact with the world, and you have to in some cases. Like you'll be going along, and there'll be like a giant sign that you have to
Pop your
like,
head into.
shove your head
Yeah,
forward and
yeah.
smash out of the way so that the robot can
Yeah.
move forward.
Does this require the
Yep.
PSVR?
It
Yeah,
does.
it wouldn't make any sense without it. Like a lot of the
Yeah,
stuff in it is like looking into a diorama, and that's how you're looking to
Yes,
figure
right,
out like
exactly.
what's the next platform I can reach, or where's the next robot that I need to rescue.
You like lean forward and look around
Yeah.
a corner to figure out.
But
what
it's
you're
a
doing.
it's a good platformer regardless, with a lot of really clever
Yeah,
enemies
there's one-
and
there's
level
one-
design and stuff.
Yeah, for the sort of immersion thing, there's one thing that was really funny where you go underwater in one of the levels, and at one point, like a starfish or something like that goes flying towards you, and if you don't duck out of the way, it sticks to your face, and so it blocks
Yeah.
your view. And when you come out of that level at the end, you come out of the water, like there's like plankton and shit that's on your head, and so it looks like you have like these rusted dreads on the little robot, and there's a screen there so you can actually see yourself, interacts with you in that way. But it's it would not be much of a stretch to say it's inspired by stuff like Ratchet and Clank games.
Crash Bandicoot actually it reminded me of
Crash
that
Bandicoot,
a lot.
yeah, not the like the
Yes.
original Ratchet and Clank, so it doesn't have crazy weapon stuff, but that sort of aesthetic and sort of feel is very much
Yeah,
part of this.
it feels good. I like it. I only played like
Yeah.
45. I played
Yeah.
through the first level and a little bit of the second one, and I really liked it. But
Yep.
I just haven't had a chance to play a lot more of it. But it was in the
Yeah.
running for my list as
Oh.
well.
Nice. Number 19 has a tie, one of which is the SNK 40th Anniversary Collection, which I believe is Joe's.
Yeah, that's mine. So, SNK 40th Anniversary, I put on the list, and actually all the footage you're going to see that I captured is just of the museum, like, timeline mode. Because, so I saw Frank Cifaldi talk about it at MagFest. He did a whole panel about the work he's been doing with Digital Eclipse and everything. And he categorized it as, we make coffee table books that you can play.
That's good.
And I just think that I'm one of the people who thinks that there is so much value in this. And I understand that I am in the minority, but I'm also the guy who bought this. There's a stream that we did earlier, late last year, where I unboxed my collector's edition of this game, which came with an art book and replicas of all the arcade flyers from all these games, and a soundtrack, which I still haven't ripped to my computer and put on my phone, but I need to do that. But it's got this timeline and it explains all this stuff of every SNK pre-Neo Geo. Like, there's information on every pre-Neo Geo SNK game in here, including stuff like these flyers that you're seeing here and all that stuff. And it's the kind of historical document that I think a lot of these games deserve, and some of these games, like, they found I guess Brandon Sheffield was in Japan and had a chance to go to SNK and found like the only known board of one of these games and was able to dump the ROM for Digital Eclipse and send it back. So like there are games here that would be otherwise considered lost if they hadn't done this project, right? And like, maybe those games aren't very good. And in fact, Frank Cifaldi was like, I don't like a lot of these games. I think a lot of them are bad games, but they're so weird and interesting. And because SNK's history and sort of the collective conscious seems to start with the Neo Geo, I think a collection like this is really important. I think I'd love to see similar things of sort of Capcom's
God, I wish Nintendo would do something like this, man.
Yeah, I'd like with Radar Scope
Yeah.
and not Phoenix, but they did another sort of Space Invaders like thing, and
All
Sheriff
the
and
pre-Super
stuff, like, that
Mario
would be
Brothers
amazing.
stuff. There's so much.
Right, everything from before
Yeah.
Donkey Kong, even, right?
Yeah.
Like all their games.
God,
from
I wish
before
they would
Donkey
just do
Kong.
something like this for fucking the Super Mario Brothers for the NES, right? Like, there is not really a definitive
Right.
collection of even that stuff, and there's just so much of it
Right.
that it would be easy to compile it into a. It's very frustrating that game companies don't have a
Yeah.
profound respect for their history in the way that like some film companies and stuff do. Although a lot of them don't either. But
Right.
I wish there was more stuff like
Sure.
this.
but there are people out there, like there's obviously the Criterion Collection, but then there's like Shout Factory and Arrow Video and Vinegar Syndrome, who take these weird offbeat movies and give them these loving, like I have the Criterion version of Night of the Living Dead, which is amazing, but I also have like the Shout Factory version of Exorcist 3, which they recovered a bunch of missing footage from Friedkin's original version.
Let me tell you about George C. Scott's performance in Exorcist 3.
So good, but they recobbled like a lost cut of that movie, and like the footage is pretty bad quality, but like otherwise it wouldn't exist at all, right? And so video games, I think, need that equivalent. And I think even though video games are a relatively young medium, especially compared to film, which has been, film is 137-ish years old at this point, or whatever it is, depending on what you consider to be the first motion picture. And video games are only, what, if we're
40.
going back to the 60s, basically 40-ish years old. But I think we have a chance to not lose video game history the way we lost a lot of film history, if we try to be more careful. And unfortunately, pirates are doing a lot of that work.
I mean, not lose as much.
Right, yeah.
Right.
There's some stuff that's already long gone.
There is some stuff that's gone or thought to be lost, but stuff still pops up. People say that this was SimCity. Frank Cifaldi in his other role just dropped the SimCity ROM for NES on Christmas Day.
Yeah, there was,
and that was thought to be
there
lost.
was one of the Giant Bombcasts. They were talking about that SimCity thing, and somebody sent in an email was like, "Yeah, we worked at this company and we went out of business, and we took all these masters of all these games we worked on and hid them in the rafters up inside the ceiling. So if anybody works in this old office park, that stuff might still be there." Like, there's a lot of that stuff around. It's just like a matter of the right people getting their hands on it. But
right.
yeah, this is a really cool package, and I wish more companies
and for
would
some of that
do
stuff
that, or pass it off to people like Frank Cifaldi and his team and have them do it.
And I mean, they also did. I ranked this because I think this is a more complete vision of that. But they also did the Street Fighter 30th anniversary collection that came out this past year as well, and they found some stuff in the Capcom archives. Like, there's a screenshot of a proposed NES version of Street Fighter 2 that no one had ever seen outside of Capcom until that collection was released. And so these kind of documents, and so again, it's weird to put a collection on the Games of the Year list, but I think this was such an important collection that unearthed a lot of important stuff like Sasuke versus Commander, which, Frank Cifaldi argues was the very first boss battle in a video game.
Also, you can listen to the Athena vocal themes.
You can listen to both the American and Japanese version of the Psycho Soldier theme. So that's why it's there, and that's why I think it's cool. And I think everybody, and it's coming to PS4. So if you don't have a Switch, well, if you do have a Switch, like I have a flip grip, and it's also flip grip compatible.
Yep. This is very exciting. We have 19 games to go.
I think this one is worth dedicating a little bit of time to, because it's a different kind of a thing.
More than that, actually.
Anyway,
right. I'm finished. That's my piece on this.
Can I finish, please? Can I finish?
I'm finished.
All right. The other 19th is Red Strings Club.
Oh no.
I don't even know what this is. It's another one where I don't know what it is.
I believe that's Eric.
Red Strings Club is a game that I put on my list because it's by a development team called Destruct Team. They were the ones that put out what the heck was it? Gods something. I can't remember what the hell it was called now. But it was a really weird, it was like a super difficult point and click adventure game where the whole point was that it was
Gods.
That's it.
Watching.
Yeah. Where it was the whole point of it was that it was kind of impossible to actually accomplish anything. This game is a little bit more laid back. It's like it has a cyberpunk setting, and you work like one of the main characters is a bartender, and you like pour these drinks, and the types of drinks that you pour will sort of affect the emotional state of the person you're talking to, and will like push them down different dialogue trees. And it's just like mostly a place for a bunch of different characters with different worldviews to sort of bounce ideas off of each other. Unlike a lot of pieces of fiction like that, this game doesn't feel like it's being particularly like judgy about like what you feel or what your input is or what these various characters feel. It's more just like watching them interact with each other. There's an AI, there's a really cool pottery wheel mini game that you use to like make some AI things that feels really good. It's a very thoughtful game. I like the art style. I like the setting. I like the music. It's really hard to delve into without going like more into what the story is about. But it's definitely like it's a thing that is like a bunch of different characters like ruminating over what free will means to them and like how that affects the other people around them. And I think that it's a pretty thoughtful one of those. It's only like 3 or 4 hours long. It's totally worth checking out. And they also, the same team put out a thing called 1145 A Vivid Life, which I am attaching to this because it's like a 5-minute thing that you can get for free on itch.io, where you play as a girl who thinks her skeleton has been replaced by an imposter skeleton, and you have to like x-ray yourself and then like carve the pieces out. And then as you're doing this, you get to make these dialogue choices that determine what the character thinks those pieces are. So like one of the options is like she was in an abusive relationship where she got the crap beat out of her, but one of them is where she's like a super secret spy that's working for the US military. It's a really cool like story construction set that kind of reminds me of some of the things that Dragon Ball Fighters, yeah, Jesus Christ, that Kentucky Route Zero is doing, where you're kind of like filling in, like they give you the skeleton of a narrative structure and you get to fill in the details as you go. And both Red Strings Club and 1145 A Vivid Life kind of bring that to the table, and they're both really, really cool things.
Okay, but do either of them have third floor bears?
Neither of them has third floor bears.
Do either of them have trash pandas?
No trash pandas, but this next game does.
Oh, segue.
It's
called Donut County.
Exactly, Donut County.
Yes.
And we'll let Mike talk so that
I can talk. Donut County is just a super charming game which could very easily be distilled down to like hipster Katamari, and that's not a bad thing. Like it's got like a neat art style, and it's got really good, funny writing, which I could see getting on some people's nerves. But I thought that the characters were, they had really great voices, and the writing was genuinely pretty darn good. You play as a raccoon sitting on a toilet using an iPad to control a hole going around and swallowing up this entire small town.
Very much so inspired by Katamari, where as you collect more things, the hole gets bigger to let you collect bigger things.
Yeah, correct. Except that there's basically no challenge to this game. Like there's no time limits. It's almost impossible to fail. Basically, except for at the very end where there's 1 or 2 stages where there's actually a boss fight at the end of the game, and I think that you can fail that and maybe have to start over. But yeah, it's just fun. Like you can see in the video that it's got this cute like little texting interface where you can send ducks to each other. And I just want to say I played this game on the iPhone, and if you buy it on a phone, it comes with a whole bunch of really amazing stickers that you can text people, including that duck and a bunch of like really cool like animated stickers with the raccoon BK. And also, this game has a super sweet soundtrack that I really liked and would put on when I wanted to get some work done.
It's like 2 hours long, and
really
it's super
cool.
Chill, and it's a good time.
The soundtrack is as long as the game. I don't think I've ever played another game that has as much soundtrack as gameplay. Yeah, you get that Goose on his little scooter.
Well, it's voted for it. I put it on my list.
I did too.
I think we all put it kind of a little far down, but you know, it's just nice. It's like 2 hours of nice.
It was a
game.
one-sitting game for me.
Yep.
I liked it a lot.
Yep, I did the same.
I played it on my phone on the bus.
I kind of secretly wish that there was a more mechanics-heavy version of this that's more like Katamari and less the writing-focused, narrative-focused version that we got. But I still really like it.
I would be okay with that. The game includes like an encyclopedia of all the stuff.
Yeah.
Yes,
that you swallow up. The Trashpedia.
Such a good
much
name.
like happens in. Much like happens in Katamari, as you find things, then they show up in there.
Except it's super
But all
hilarious.
the descriptions are written from the point of view of the raccoon.
Yeah.
And
Kind of knows.
He described a succulent as a child safety cactus.
and one is like he describes snakes as like a string that you have to watch
A live
out for
rope.
or something like that. Yeah.
And then one of them is a live rope that can hate.
I think that's
Exactly.
the rattlesnake.
It's just a nice, cool ambiance, good setting.
I like it a lot.
Good job.
Yeah, I've
Agreed.
been looking forward for this for a while, and I'm glad it delivered.
Is it Ben
Yes.
Esposito who made this game?
Yeah, Ben
All right.
Esposito.
So our
correct.
next game
Yeah, he's been working on it for like 4 or 5 years.
is
Next game is also tied
is
for
also a
17,
super
Call of Duty.
chill made by one
Black Ops
also made
4.
super chill made by one person, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I'm the only one of us that played it. I have not played a Call of Duty game in a very long time. I just
That's when I played was
Black Ops 1, I think, a
Warfare
little
2?
bit, and Modern Warfare 2 was the last one I put any kind of significant time into, the co-op stuff and that. But this game, it's still Call of Duty. You remember Call of Duty where you look down the sights and then you shoot at guys and then they die or they kill you first and then you respawn and then do it all over again and you do it for like hundreds of hours.
Yep.
That's what this game is. It's still that. They added some different characters that all have different powers. Like there's one lady that gets her ult and she has a grenade launcher that she can use for a few seconds. Or there's another guy that can summon some dogs that will run after and chase down the other players. And there's a guy that can put up this like great big shield that hums and puts out like waves. And if enemies run in front of it, it like slows them down and kills them over time. There's like 9 different characters. The hero powers and stuff in this are not like as game changing as they are in say Overwatch, but they definitely add a little bit more flavor to the like traditional Call of Duty soup. And it also kind of changed up the way that you healed instead of just healing over time, which that still happens. But now you have a stim pack that you use. So you use that and then it will begin the healing and then you heal a little faster. So it just like, it kind of shuffles up the pace of playing Call of Duty a little bit. And there's just a ton of modes in it. There's like a new Blackout mode, which is kind of like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Battle Royale style thing. And it's just like, it's like this endless smorgasbord of multiplayer shooter modes, and they're all pretty good. And I just had a really good time playing it for like 30 or 40 hours. And now it's to the point where the only people still playing it are total savages and I can't compete. And so it's not any fun for me at this point, but I had a real good time with it for the first like 2 or 3 months that it came out, and it was good.
Nice.
Yeah, if I'd had time, I would have given this a try because it does look interesting. It
Yeah.
looks like fun. I find it really interesting the knife edge that these guys have to ride, where they have to make a game that's like a Call of Duty game, but they're also trying to roll in the Battle Royale stuff, but they're also bringing in like class-based stuff with kind of goofy powers, but they can't go too goofy or their fan base will get mad that it's not
Right.
realistic.
Was
So like, I don't know how they managed to put all these like things together and stand on this little needle
Yeah.
point without actually
well, they did
crashing
that.
down, but it sounds like they did a good job.
Didn't they do one in space? Like, how realistic are we talking here? Like,
People hated it.
Well, I don't, not like everybody hated it, but
Well, the
a
fan,
lot of
no, the fan base really turned on it.
Yeah, they even it went so far as to
They threw that game under a bus at their own press conference for
yes,
I think
that's
this
what I was
one.
gonna say. What do we hate?
Yeah.
Wall running or
Well-
something like that. It was like whatever.
I mean, at least they didn't put a woman on the cover. Am I right?
They did. They put Zarya on the cover. I think she's on the cover, isn't she?
Is that her
No, but
name?
She looks like Zarya, and I played her a lot.
Okay, I was gonna say that'd be pretty ballsy of them putting.
Well, sorry, they didn't put just a woman on the cover because women aren't soldiers, right, or whatever historical act, whatever.
Uh-huh.
You get the joke that I'm
Anyway.
making.
Yes. Moving on.
Let's do Hitman 2 because I don't have the
Yep.
other one video. I lost it someplace. I have to find
Yep.
it. So give me a minute.
Tied for 15, Hitman 2.
So
Joe.
Mike was getting on me about going on too much about SNK, but I'm so first of all, I'm surprised it came in this. Am I the only one who voted for Hitman 2?
You are the only one that voted for it. I will note I got Hitman 2, and I've played a ton of Hitman
In Hitman
1
2.
in Hitman 2. Because I got the original Hitman reboot thing, and I didn't play very much of it. And then
And now it's
I
got
got
mirrors.
Hitman 2, and I got an automatic upgrade. And I was like, oh, I should go back and play that stuff first. And I spent like 3 weeks playing the first level and just sucking everything out of it. I was like, this is awesome. But I didn't really feel like in good conscience I could vote for Hitman 2 as a result of that. So I haven't yet. So it'll probably be the thing that I say next year. Man, I should have voted for that. It was awesome.
Yeah, if you liked Hitman 2016, this sure is a bunch more Hitman 2016.
Yeah.
I'm actually still in the process of playing this. Like the video footage that you're watching right now, or that I assume you're watching right now, because I've got a stream delay here, and I'm still seeing Black Ops 4 photograph.
Shit! I forgot to close that. There, it's up now.
Orbs.
Well, I'm trying to find the next
Right.
one, so it was like lost in my folder.
Right.
So this is me playing the Mumbai level for the first time. And the only thing that I'll really say about this, as far as like, if you haven't played it yet and you want to play it, turn all the pathfinding stuff off, because that just turns it into like a paint by numbers or like a color by numbers sort of thing. Where you're just following the trail like in Fable 3. Like that's, but if you turn that stuff off, there's this really great, like, you're organically discovering the best way to sort of deal with these people, and it's just really great to sort of overhear a conversation about like, oh yeah, so and so got this industrial sized fan and we had to like jury rig it so that it wouldn't just like blow someone off the rooftop, and then you're like, oh well then.
What did you say?
And so then you go up to this rooftop.
I'm undoing a jury rig. Is that what you're telling
right
me? Yes.
And you switch this fan over, and then you can blow someone off. They kill somebody by blowing them off a roof with an industrial like movie effects fan. Or like there was one where I was dressed as a pink flamingo and I went to meet one of my targets dressed in a pink flamingo mascot outfit, and I kicked her down an open elevator shaft.
Nice. Probably my most favorite part of playing all of that stuff was when I was able to pull off the first Hitman 1, 2016 level. There's 2 targets, and one of the like challenges is to drop one on the other.
Yeah, right.
And pulling that off was pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, and the game has this really wry sense of humor where it knows how, like, I feel like Metal Gear isn't super self-aware about how silly it is.
No.
But Hitman is like extremely self-aware about how silly all of this is. Right? So there's just some really great moments of humor and stuff. And like there's a sequence that you probably haven't gotten to in Hitman 2016 where you impersonate a yoga instructor.
No, I have not.
And you're on this like mountain retreat, and you will be showing this lady, these different yoga poses, and you just get her to go out to the edge of this thing, and then you just put your foot on her butt and shove her off a mountain. And it is amazing. And then that's it. Like she's just gone, and everybody's like, "Where'd she go?" You're like, "I don't know, man."
Weird.
Who can say?
And so
She's enlightened now. She transcended.
But overhearing the conversations and putting together these things and doing this stuff, and then pulling off the perfect stealth kills and walking away with everybody being like, "What happened?" and not noticing you, is just one of the great moments of game empowerment that exists. Like in modern games, like it's a totally different feeling than like when you land a perfect headshot or whatever in Call of Duty or something like that. Like this feeling of like, I put all these pieces into place and then I did the thing that resulted in the perfect, like there was
The
one
perfect
guy
crime.
where it's just like,
Except not.
yeah, like
most
there was
of the
one dude
time.
where I just snuck in, well, right. But there was one where like I snuck into this dude's hut, and then he just like walked in and left his guards outside because he assumed that there was no one in his hut. And then I just like straight up cold-blooded murdered him with a garrote wire, and then hit his body in a chest. And like no alarm ever went off. No one was ever looking for me. No one ever knew he was dead. Like it was just, and you just feel like such a badass when you pull that off and are totally undetected.
It does the thing good puzzle games do, which is to put all the pieces that you need there for you, but make it feel like you found them and put them together
yourself,
kind of all by yourself. Yeah,
they do an excellent job of making weird little clockwork worlds that have they don't make any sense if you were to put them in the context of the real world, but the rules are very internally consistent, and the mechanics of the newer Hitman games have finally made it so that it's like not a chore to interact with those little worlds, and then the way that the player get to manipulate them is just really, really fun. This wasn't on my list because I didn't play this one, but I really liked the first Hitman.
Yeah.
And this looks very good.
I like the maps in this one more than the maps in the first one.
To highlight the comments.
And by the first one, I mean like the sixth one or whatever.
Yeah, right. To highlight the things you were saying about them being self-aware and so on, like that follows through into even like the patch notes if you read them when they come out, because they're really humorous in a lot of the stuff that they say. Like there's one I saw where it was like, We fixed an issue that would cause 47 to teleport when taking out a shotgun and aiming in a crowd. Now he'll have to walk.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a great moment where I overflowed a guy's fish tank and had messed with the wiring, so like he stepped in a puddle and died of electrocution.
There's just a lot of cool stuff.
So yeah.
Also, the best fire extinguisher throwing in any video game ever. Best soup can throwing.
Absolutely, uncontested.
All right, so what's up next?
Yeah.
Next is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah. You know who's here?
And
everyone is here.
Yep.
That's who's here. So I picked up this game. It's been a long time since
everyone's not here until you unlock them all with this grindy, ridiculous.
It doesn't take that long.
So Joe, I'm going to tell you something's going to blow your mind. Unlocking the characters was my favorite part. And in fact, I played a whole bunch of this game for a bunch of weeks, unlocking all the characters. And once I had them all, I kind of stopped.
Okay.
Anyway, so I skipped a couple Smash Bros. Games. The last one that I sunk any real time into was on the GameCube. And I wasn't interested in the Wii one. I didn't have a Wii U. But this one is tempting to me because it has just like everything in the world in it, right? It seemed like a good time to get back in, and I was super happy that they put like the Belmonts in and stuff like that. And Ken finally.
The Wii U one with like more people.
Yeah, right. But since I didn't play that, it was like, cool, this is a whole bunch of stuff for me. And I was a little hesitant to pick it up because, like, well, I don't have anyone locally that I can play the game with. And I wound up playing just a whole bunch of matches against the computer, and mostly just in the standard mode. I didn't even do a lot of the single-player campaign stuff and the World of Light stuff. But I don't know, I just had a fun time kind of gorging myself on the endless buffet, the just unbelievable, irresponsible amount of content that they put into this game. Between like the 74 characters at this point, I think, and I don't know, like apparently dozens and dozens of stages, like just ridiculous amounts of details in the background, stuff where you're getting assist trophies and you're like, wait, is that Alucard? What is Alucard doing in this game?
700 songs for each stage.
700 songs.
There's one Castlevania stage and 1.5 Castlevania characters, and there's like 10 remixes of songs from the series.
Yeah. There's 30 songs, I think, from Castlevania, aren't there?
Okay, there's 30. Yeah, whatever. It's ridiculous compared. But you know, the reason that I didn't put this higher is just because I didn't buy it. I played a fair amount of it with my nephews when I was in Milwaukee for the holidays. You know, I played. Well, actually, that's pretty much all I played of it. But I was like, you know what? This is pretty much the Wii U version, but like with more stuff.
You like stuff? Let me tell you, this game has stuff.
Yeah, this game has stuff in spades, man.
It's just, but then there's so much love in it, like the fact that right now you're seeing him play on a Pokemon stage from the original N64 game, and it uses the same textures and like the same level of background detail that game had.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's 4 other Pokemon stages that you can play on if you want to see them do it more fancy. I don't know. I was a little overwhelmed, but in a good way.
It was fun. I bought it. I had fun playing it. It wasn't really in contention for me because I just like there's just something fiddly about the way Smash Brothers plays that just doesn't appeal to me properly. But we had a good time.
I'm pretty happy with the
loosey goosey times, and I played like 10 hours. All
playing Donkey Kong.
It's good. There's a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff. Holy crap!
There's so much stuff.
So much stuff.
All right, we're getting closer to the
actual list.
To the actual list, a 3-way tie for 12. Starting with
why don't you start with
Mike? Actually, I'm gonna just break it up. One that Mike voted for last year that Joe voted this year. Yes. Dead Cells.
Yeah. See, now this is ridiculous because this game should be in the top 10, but Mike voted for it before it was a game.
This is the world that we live in, Joe. You're gonna have to get used to it.
It is the world that we live in.
You know.
This is the world in which you guys voted for a third of a Kentucky Route Zero game. Like
I didn't vote.
Sorry,
ago, and
hold up, Mike.
Yet.
Hold up.
I didn't, and I still regret.
I voted for it. I had it in my. It was 1/5 of a Kentucky Route Zero game. That was the very first chapter, and I still think that was the best thing released in 2013. So suck my dick. Let's talk about Dead Cells.
And it still isn't out.
It is. It's out. The first chapter is out. It was the best video game released in 2013.
Four chapters out of 5.
Anyway,
the 5th one in theory is coming.
So yeah, I mean, I voted for this game last year because last year it was a great game, and it's still a great game this year.
It's still a great game. Yeah.
but it wasn't not a great game last year when I voted
true.
for it.
I'm sure. I don't know what's actually changed because I didn't play it when it was in pre-release at all.
They changed the
so-
systems quite a bit. It didn't have the 3 color system when I first
Yep.
played it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or rather, they had them, but like all the weapons were not associated with different colors. The upgrades work quite differently, and there were no mutations.
Yes, that was all new.
In the and a lot of the enemies didn't have the final looks that they have now. Like the guys who throw grenades in the first area looked identical to the green zombies, but they were just a different color.
Okay.
And there were a couple of zones that weren't in it, but at the same time, it was still an amazingly playing game. It had tons and tons of enemies and different zones and weapons. Like I didn't come close to unlocking all the stuff in it in the 20 hours I played in it, 2017.
Yeah.
And then I put another 15 or 20 hours into it this year because it's super good. And also pretty hard. Still never finished it.
I like everything about it, but I just can't. It just has never quite clicked for me. I don't know why, but it's really good.
The controls are so tight, man.
It's good. It's really good.
I never get tired of the running, jumping, dodging. Like the dodge roll is great. There's a really good variety in all the weapons and powers you can get, so you can play the game a whole bunch of different ways. And depending on what good drops you get, it's possible to have runs feel really different from one another. Giving those timed doors, still a super great idea for making the game fresh, even after you've played the first area 1,000 times.
You play through them over and over and over again. It just goes super fast, and you can skip it all.
It turns into a new game. It's like, all right, you're tired of these areas? Show me how fast you can, get through them and still be rewarded for it.
Yeah, because the time doors and everything. I really liked it. I played a lot of it, and every time I would be like, "Am I getting sick of this?" And then I'd be like, "Nope, one more game."
I wish the games were a little less long.
I've gotten to the last area, but I have not finished it yet.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like it's taken me like an hour and a half on a good run to make it. Like I made it to the final boss one time, and I do wish that it was a little less time than that to have a good run. Because you always want to play really conservatively when it's your first time in a new area. And those regular enemies in that last section are real. Yeah, it jerks.
All right. Next, also tied for 12th is, I think I'm the only one, which is Prey Moon Crash.
I heard lots of good things about that.
Yeah. And I actually didn't even think about putting it on my list originally. And then when I was sort of looping back around and looking at stuff that I had finished and so on, I was like, oh shit, I forgot to stick that on there. I will say I enjoyed Prey a lot, but I didn't like it as much as Dishonored, which I put as my number one last year.
Is that because steampunk whales are cooler than space goo? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No matter how much Anthony enjoys being able to disguise himself as a coffee cup, it didn't make Dishonored 2 better than, or didn't make Prey better than Dishonored 2.
Yeah, I played the original Prey.
Xbox
and I just
360
not
one?
the original. Sorry, not the original Prey.
The
one with the space sphincters.
The unreleased Quake 2 engine.
The main
racism.
game. The main game.
The main game. The main game. And I don't know, man. It's what Eric was saying about Dead Cells. Like, it just didn't click with me. And I know a ton of people who loved it, and it just, I don't know. I just didn't. Something about it, I was just like, I'm not enjoying this very much.
Sure, I get that.
It was probably the third time like a coffee cup or a chair attacked me and killed me out of nowhere. I was just like,
yeah,
that sounds
fuck
awesome.
this.
I gotta play this game.
So,
yeah.
So to note, I specifically called out Moon.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
that's the thing that came out this year.
Well, because the addition of making it a roguelike
light
and roguelike like however many of those I need
like
to put in here,
light.
so everyone will
it's a
shut the
little
fuck
tiny
up
stack
about
of
nomenclature.
pancakes that eats your shields.
Yeah, exactly. And the way that was implemented just really grabbed me and really took the stuff that I liked in the main game and made it into a focused experience that was much shorter, relatively speaking, but still had a lot of meat to it. So for those that don't know, in this game, or in this mode, or whatever you want to call it, um, there are 5 characters that you play as at various points, and you start with one open, and then you play through a certain set of challenges, and then you can unlock the rest. And the intention is eventually you do one run in which you play as each one of them and get each one of them off of or get them to escape the moon base, and then you'll complete the game essentially. The thing that makes that tricky though is that as you progress through a layer of the simulation, it gets harder and harder, and the
stuff that you take from one character doesn't exist anymore. It's like that Resident Evil 2 thing, right?
Yeah. So like if you
Leon took the bullets, so Claire
exactly. If you loot a chest, then there's nothing in it when the next person comes through. And
also, don't you have to like win in different ways every time you play it?
There are different ways that different characters that you want to win with them, and they have different powers. So they took the whole power tree from the original game and they broke it apart, and so each character has different sets of powers, so they're geared differently. And so that's part of the thing too. You have to say, okay, well, this character can fix stuff, so I need to send them in so that they can fix this pod so that person can use it later. And so there's a lot of strategy on figuring out, can I take this gear? Should I leave this behind for that character? Do I need to do this person before that person? How does all that work? And as you're going along, the facility is breaking down more. There's more hazard, and there's more things you have to deal with that just make things much more complicated. So it becomes this sort of, puzzle within a puzzle of trying to figure out how to make all this stuff happen in a way that you can do it as quickly as possible.
So I gotta say,
at any time you can opt to reset everything. So that's the other thing.
Right, because it's run based, right? It's like
right. So you can keep going if you want to, but then you're like, nope. I've gotten as much as I can out of this.
You're technically playing as a person, like running in the game. You are a person running a simulation, and so you're trying to solve.
You're running a simulation of that, right? Yeah. Exactly.
In such a way that everybody can escape.
Right.
Yeah, this looks really interesting to me. When Prey came out, I have to admit I was kind of not super into it because there've been a lot of those games, and I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it at that time. But part of me is really tempted to just play this because it sounds mechanically so interesting.
Yeah, and you absolutely could play this without playing other stuff for sure.
Don't think I need to.
The problem is you have to buy both.
Yeah, well, I'll probably wait till maybe next year, and maybe at some point the whole package will be cheap enough.
I
actually considered for the Christmas gift exchange. So Anthony is also a big fan of both of these.
Prey, yeah. Has he played this?
And Moon Crash.
Okay.
And he gave Coffee Prey, spoilers. And I actually considered giving Eric specifically Moon Crash, so that we could just have one big Prey discussion. Then I changed my mind.
I gotta play some of this before we do that, because man, this is just another one of those things where I know I'm gonna like this, but it's just a casualty of the too many games thing. Yep. Also, I had to play another 150 hours of Overwatch and a bunch of Hearthstone. So
always important.
I had to.
All right. So anyway, that's that. Moon Crash.
Next.
Next, also the final tied for 12th, The Messenger.
Yes, The Messenger. So I think only Joe and I voted for this game. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, this is a cool game. It is the first game from a studio that's actually in Quebec City. The only game company that I'm aware of that's in Quebec City. And it's not a very big city. It's not a perfect game. Like, it definitely has some problems, but it's a really interesting first try, and I'm very interested to see where they go from here if they were to, make another similar game or make a sequel to this, what it would be. Spoilers in case you don't know anything about this game, but it's a Ninja Gaiden like.
We should have said up front there will probably be spoilers for stuff that we talk about tonight.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna not tell you the twist. Sorry. So this is like a Ninja Gaiden.
Fucking trailer also. Yeah.
I know.
There's a joke in the game about it being in the trailer.
There's kind of two twists though. right? So it's a Ninja Gaiden style game at first. Looks like this. It looks like a Nintendo game, and it has really cool movement stuff where every time you hit anything, you get an extra jump you can use in the air. And they build some really, really tough challenges out of that.
Here comes
Making
the
you...
cloud step.
Yes, the cloud
The cloud
step,
step is a brilliant mechanic, by the way.
It's really, really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, and like you also get a grappling hook and a glider suit, and
It's a rope dart, Mike.
whatever. And they chain them all together to make these really cool rooms where you spend, like 20, 30 seconds just, floating, zipping, grabbing, slashing, jumping without ever touching the ground.
Sounds
And
good.
like I really thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
The official twist of the game is that at some point you do some time traveling, and when you travel to the future, the game becomes basically a Genesis game instead of an NES game. Which is interesting also because, a lot of people tend to focus on the Super Nintendo for 16-bit, but this is very clearly, at least sound-wise, more of a Genesis
Right. I
thing.
was gonna say it looks like a Super NES game with a Genesis soundtrack.
Yeah, I guess that's more fair. But the other kind of half twist is that eventually the levels open up and you start going backwards and forwards, and it basically becomes a Metroidvania style game. And this is where it falls apart a little bit because the level design is just not good. Like, it's really cool that this area that you're going through turns out to be an explorable zone, but it's not actually fun because there are so few points to access each area, and a lot of the stuff is just kind of dull when you're going through it backwards, and there are hidden things, but they're not everywhere, so it's just like, oh, okay, I've been through this part 4 times now. Now I'm going to get to that one little room up there that I can see on my map that I couldn't get to before. So...
Yeah, calling it a Metroidvania, I mean, there's not a good other name for what it becomes, but that
exploration
is
platformer.
It's kind of doing it a disservice, though, right? Because I played this coming right off of Hollow Knight.
Oh man,
Right
The
from Hollow
premier
Knight,
exploration platformer.
right? So
yeah,
and this game, it's like half a Metroid, right? It's like half a Metroidvania in terms of like half the game you play in as not a Metroidvania, and then it turns into one, but also like Mike said, like there's not a ton of exploration to be had. There's a couple of new areas that you find, and a couple things that you do where you like go bring a guy like some tea leaves or whatever, and he gives you a candle, which is kind of played off as a joke. But then later, there's a whole area that you can't explore unless you have the candle, and
It's dark.
right, it's dark, and that kind of stuff. But it really it's much more linear than the term Metroidvania would have you believe.
You can just
but
kind of
still,
pick
I really
which
liked
part
it.
of the level you want to revisit, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And there's value in revisiting some of those places. Like there's two like Cyclopses, like a tag team of Cyclops brothers who
Bodybuilder Cyclopses.
plant a thing in their pot, and then you time travel to the future, and it's grown this rare
Video
flower.
game time travel
that
stuff
takes,
101,
whatever.
baby.
Right. Yeah. And so that's all really cool and fun. But the biggest thing is, like Mike sort of hit on, I got all the challenge medals, which lets you upgrade your ninja star to like a windmill star from Ninja Gaiden, which is more useful than it sounds. And getting those requires the traversal, which, like I said, the
Best part of the game, really.
The best part of the game is the traverse. The traversal feels so good. And for me, that's such a big thing. And I'm going to when I talk about the game that I rated number 1, we're going to talk about traversal.
Me too.
But I just love good.
Yeah.
Like if moving around in a game feels good, like you've got me.
Yeah, I wish.
And this
We like
game,
Bionic Commando.
If the level
yeah.
design in this
Yep,
game
and
had
it-
been better, this would have been pretty high on my list. But I think the level design just is not that great. Like across the board.
Well, that's why I'm really excited
even
to
in
see
the
where
part
they
of it
go-
where it's
where
just a
they go from
linear,
here, right?
like Ninja Gaiden style thing, I still think the level design is kind of not that great.
But when you think about the game as a whole, it's got good art, good music, good physics, and good writing also, which I just want to very briefly shout out.
it's
But
funny.
I really like the
It's
writing
cute.
from the
Yeah, it's
shopkeeper. The one thing that it needs basically is good level design, and it's not impossible for a studio to either learn how to do that or hire someone who can, basically. I know it's not easy to make a good Metroidvania world because almost nobody has, but I would love to see these guys with a bit more experience under their belts take another stab at something kind of along these lines.
It's not awful, but
Yeah.
it's like a C or a C plus in a game where everything else is like a B plus or better.
Now, see, Mike, I would say honestly that I would like to see them just go all in on a non-Metroid, like on a straight up action platformer.
Just like
It
pure
isn't
Ninja Gaiden-esque.
Yeah. I think I would rather see them do that and see
Maybe.
how they make out with that. But I'm interested in whatever they do next, and I'm interested in the free DLC that's coming for this. this year.
Can I
Just like I'm
submit
interested in
that part of the
Cuphead
reason
DLC
why
that's
this doesn't work where Ninja Gaiden does is because this is widescreen and Ninja Gaiden is much narrower, and part of the challenge of Ninja Gaiden and part of what makes it feel so intense is that there's stuff like flying at you from off screen all the time. You have to react constantly, and in this game you can see everything coming all the time, and it's almost like too much time to prepare for every challenge.
I mean, it's definitely much less difficult than
Right.
Ninja Gaiden, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Also, the infinite live,
Yeah, I
checkpoint
mean
system.
that's fine. Like you could
But-
put that in Ninja Gaiden and it wouldn't be an easier game. It would just be a more friendly, approachable game.
As someone who played a bunch of Ninja Gaiden earlier today and couldn't get past level 3-2, I think I actually prefer this overall.
Yeah. I played this in December, and I played up to the time boss, which, as far as I understand, is like right before said twist. But I just got spanked pretty hard at that, and then ended up playing
Yeah,
well,
well,
Damacy for a while.
fact is, you've seen the best parts of the game,
Yeah.
so wait for
You
the
know
next
what's up
one.
with the
That's what I would
messenger.
say.
But it's cool.
Yeah.
It
It's a
is.
cool game. I'm glad
Yeah,
that
I
you
did
made
not.
it. I had fun.
I
with
was
it.
not unhappy with what I had played, but I would.
I'm a sucker for
concur.
Metroidvanias, and so I enjoyed it probably more than it deserved.
I'm a sucker for Ninja Gaiden, so I enjoyed it probably more. I mean, Jeremy Parrish said that this was his game of the year last year. So,
Really?
Yeah.
I want to play Time Spinners.
All right.
That one looks more interesting to me as far as one of
I
those.
still haven't played that either. Yeah, I didn't play that.
All right.
Next.
What's next?
So we are now into the actual
Yo,
top
what's
10
up,
list,
Mike?
Woohoo, which is 11 games.
which is 11 games because there's a tie for 10th. And the first one we'll start with is
No,
Bloodstained
Subnautica first,
Curse
Kurt. We
of
have to
the
go right up the
Moon.
list because you keep fucking doing this to me, and it's fucking throwing me off.
got the
Just
quiz
straight
lined
up the
up.
list, please.
Someone
I
asked
asked
me to-
very nicely to just.
someone asked me to
I
juggle
said to
them
go.
so that they
I
could
said to go
duck
straight
out.
up the list, and I'm the one running the stream, so just go straight up the list because it's Subnautica
You
is
actually
next.
said, "I need help."
Subnautica is
Hey,
next.
do
Thank
we
you.
have-
If you were
Caller,
just
are
going
you-
straight up
are
the
you
list,
on the
why did you
line?
need me to do anything?
Do we have a
I
caller
said,
on the line?
I said before we
Did
started,
someone
we're
say
just gonna go
Subnautica?
straight up the list. So
All right.
All right, enough about you guys. Now it's time to talk about fish. Hey, Anthony, what do you think about
Hey.
fish?
I think they're fabulous.
What do you think about alien fish that want to eat you?
I'm less down with those, but you
But
can
you-
eat a fair chunk of them too.
But you
so
spent a lot of time with them this
all's
year,
fair
didn't
in
you?
love and war.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I love this game a whole lot, and I also love that your video starts with the loading sequence, which is like 40 seconds long. So that's a really great way to introduce people to Subnautica.
hey, man,
I got this
what's
game
like
as part
playing
of
this
the.
game.
I got this game as part of like the big old bundle that was on Humble Bundle when the world started going to shit, and I didn't realize that it was going to be so great. But at one point, people
Pro
said that
tip,
it was, and
the
I
world
fired
has
it up.
always been
And
shit.
yes, but not in Subnautica, where things are really great. I love this game on so many levels. I've played more of this than I've played any other game this year. It is my second game on the list for the year. I'm really sad that it doesn't seem to have stuck with Eric at all, but I know that at least I convinced Anthony to have a good
That's
time with it.
that surprises
It
me
seems
a little
neat,
bit.
but I
Alex
it
hated it,
seemed neat, but I
apparently.
just
Eric usually has better
it
taste.
seemed
in
neat, but I
games.
just don't have time. Sorry, it's not neat enough for me
All right.
to want to invest the time that I needed to get into it. Someday,
I don't know,
maybe.
it's
Who
like-
knows?
On that same token, though, I'm shocked that you've replayed it so many times.
I've replayed it
because-
once.
Like the biggest drive for me was seeing what else is out there, and it super rewards you for stretching yourself a little thinner than you should to try to see what else is down there.
Hmm
But I just, now that I know what is down there, I don't think I could. I don't see myself replaying it for a very long time.
Well, the
And
reason
even
I
if
can
did,
come
I
back to
would
it is
replay
that
it in a totally different way.
Well, the reason I can come back to it is I just really like chilling out with this game. I just like the ocean, right? I think the ocean is awesome. I love that this game is beautiful and peaceful, and you're just cruising around in this, really nice sunny sandy ocean.
I like the ocean too, but this thing taps into this weird primal fear. Like I had no idea how afraid I was of diving deep underwater until I started playing this.
That's what's so cool about this game is that it can do
Hey,
everything.
let me ask you guys: Is
Like
there
that
is there
feeling
a
you
giant
get-
barrier reef made out of rubber tires in this game anywhere? Okay,
No.
that's a real thing. You should look
because
that up.
it's
It's
in
a
a
cool
better
story.
world than ours.
Anyways, go ahead.
Yes. No, I love that this game can hit those notes everywhere between like I'm super chilled out, just cruising around the surface, with the colorful fish. down to like, oh, I'm in a weird, creepy place where I don't know if something is going to come get me, to holy shit, something is trying to come get me right now, I'm going to die, to the stuff like exploring like rusting hulks on the bottom of the ocean, where it's like
God, the thing where you like laser cut a door open, and then you like refill your oxygen and decide to just see how far you get, and then you get stuck in these small like sideways tunnels because the ship is sideways, and it's amazing. It's such an intense feeling.
Yeah, just like, and like some of those parts are not even like science fiction or fantasy. They're just like, this is what happens to real people.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are diving. Yeah, exactly. And you're like, I'm going through this door and everything's sideways, and wait a second, is that the way up?
Like,
and then you start to
is that
panic.
where I came from or not? And then you look and your oxygen is lower than you thought.
Yeah, because you're diving down too deep and you don't have a rebreather yet, and oh man, it's so good.
But I think like I hate having to always start with this, but I know so many people that just did not even touch it because of the survival aspects. And I generally do not like survival games at all. I feel like they basically weigh down on the parts of the game I do want. But in this particular case, like the exploration and the resource gathering means you very quickly start to figure out really clever ways to like circumvent the stuff that 20 minutes before was a complete bottleneck for you.
Yeah, you feel so smart when you build your first.
Smart, and you feel so like accomplished, especially when you set that second base somewhere else, and you're like, oh my god, I don't have to traverse the whole ocean to like get more water. I can just stop here.
Or the first time you build, I built a desalination machine, and now my base is
my base had exactly one office chair staring at a motivational cat picture.
Did you build it into the middle of a glass observatory so that you could be surrounded by the creepy fish that are trying to eat you?
Man, no, glass had too many. See, this is what I'm saying. Glass had too many resources, whereas I could just have a metal so I wouldn't have to look out into the ocean. And then I was that much closer to my rocket ship. So
I would just...
I was completely a survivalist. Like, I need to get off this planet as soon as I can.
I mean, like Eric in the video that he's doing now, he's in one of the really cool areas that's called the Grand Reef. And it's just got this really neat design, like all this weird bioluminescent stuff everywhere. And if you're playing on the construction mode, basically,
just like
where
the
you've
got around mode where you can just explore.
But if you're trying to stay alive, it's scary as hell down there, right? It's super dark. You're really deep. There's like giant, scary crab squids that are like electrocuting you and trying to wreck your little submarine.
Only one of those the entire game, which actually kind of added to it because I had no idea what the fuck it was and I never saw it again.
Anyway, I think this is an amazing game.
It's so
really,
good.
really good. I played like 75 hours. It's got exploration and chilling out. It's got building. You can make super sweet underwater bases. It's got a story which is, I think, relatively well written. Like, I came away from this game with feelings, right? At the end of this game, I finished my rocket ship and I left the planet and I'm like, shit, I shouldn't have done that.
Yep, that's true.
Did you dump tens of thousands of tons of plastic into the ocean before you left? Oh
no,
it's all
left.
metal. It's fine.
It's all metal. No, but just the act of leaving the game by the time you're done, you're like, it's probably ethically wrong for me to just go back to where I came from, and like the people out there are going to find this place, and based on the story that you've read, you're like, what they're going to do with it, right? It's all a kind of futuristic megacorp.
They're the ones that are going to dump all the plastic in there. And the tires.
Yeah, exactly.
Eric,
it's like
you can actually there's an optional thing you can do where you can go into the crashed giant ship and shut down the reactor so that it doesn't poison the ocean.
You might as well kill everything before your compatriots show up and really torture it to death.
They're not going to torture it. They're just going to strip mine the planet.
That's the torturous death of a planet.
Anyway, I really like this game.
Why did Alex hate it so much?
Because he's got
survival
problems.
stuff. He doesn't have patience for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
unless it's
the
got
thing
Fallout
where
in
you
its name.
Dive, especially at the beginning when you dive and collect some things and then have to go to the surface for oxygen and then go back down and then collect some fish and then cook them and then go back down and I think that grind, the initial grind that, like I said, you can basically circumvent.
You can also turn it off.
I was there at the breaking point. The breaking point was when he got a knife and then couldn't use it to kill fish.
Yeah, when he couldn't kill things, he decided this game wasn't for him.
Okay.
You can't kill things. It's not a game about killing. There are no guns.
I mean, you can catch
make a
and then
missile
cook and
launcher,
eat fish, which I assume kills them.
specifically did not do it. Yes, you can even make a special knife later that instantly cooks the fish.
You can. If you know what you're doing and you want to be a
knives
vegetarian,
work.
that's possible
It's a
too.
space knife, Joe. Shut up.
If you know what you're doing, what?
If you know what you're doing and you want to be a vegetarian, that's also possible.
I did that eventually because it was so much easier than going to catch the damn fish.
That's true. You can also catch and raise creatures and, have them in an aquarium, or in some cases, let them out of the aquarium and swim around your base, and they'll be your friends. Even if they're big, scary creatures that normally would want to eat you. They won't. It's like Metroid. And also, I do think this game is like Metroid because every bit of technology that you get basically lets you get to new areas that you couldn't survive because they're too deep, or you need a radiation suit, or you run out of oxygen, or they're really far away, or they're monsters that want to kill you.
Definitely, except it's a little less linear in that you have a bunch of options and a bunch of places to go and a bunch of powers to find, and kind of what you sort of happen upon first dictates where you go next, and that's sort of driven by what you felt like exploring first.
Yeah, and it is slightly randomized, like some of the...
Right, but I mean, that's good. Like, I found the radiation suit really early, so I went towards the radiation areas as opposed to, like, the places that were deeper that I couldn't do because my stuff would break. So,
all right, we need to move on. I'm glad that we finally had a chance to have 11 on this game because it deserves it. It's so good. There you go. Should be higher than number 10, but I'll take it. It's on the list.
It's got a good story too.
It does,
which is weird to say.
Anyways. I would like to play it someday, but who knows? There's so many fucking video games.
Who knows, indeed. At least you found some of the cool stuff, Eric. In this video, you've gone to some of the neat places.
I'm sure it would be more significant if I really had to earn it. Yeah,
it would, for sure, 100%. Also, if you were at risk, right? If you were exploring down here in your tiny little submarine, afraid that something big was going to come along and wreck it, and that you'd be stranded, then yeah, you'd definitely be feeling.
Yeah, and I mean, I blew through the thing about the plot, but man, there's a couple moments in particular I'm thinking of that were in the last decade some of my favorite plot moments in a game.
Yeah.
So
we should go start a side stream and just talk about Subnautica.
All right. Yeah.
I got 26 seconds left in this game cap. Also, this is running like shit for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. You should move on. What's our next game?
Moving on. Next is Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon.
Bloodstained.
Yay.
Curse of the Moon.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon is super
pretty good.
I do know this actually. I have played it myself and I liked it a lot.
I liked it too.
I
liked it.
Am I the only person who put it on my list though?
It could have been on my list instead of Vermintide, but it was kicking around number 10.
So for me, it was kicking around number 4. I think no.
No,
number 2.
Be,
sorry, I'm looking at my list and I'm like, what is going on here? But I get it now. Yeah, it was number 2 for me. I played this game. I beat this game I think 4 times or 5 times. This is. Man,
it's the best old school Castlevania game that's not Rondo of Blood.
I don't think I necessarily
and doesn't have a noodle whip and doesn't let you play as
say,
Grand and Nasty.
Right. I didn't realize how much we needed an old school non-Metroid style Castlevania until I played this, and I was like, wow, I really miss these. Because this is a non-Metroid style Castlevania. It's a straightforward. There are branching paths in the stages and stuff where you can go.
They're like Rondo of Blood branching though. They all kind of come back.
Well, except that they all lead to the
Rondo of
next
Blood
stage.
had separate stages, right? Yeah, Rondo of Blood actually had separate stage paths that you could take, but yeah, I mean it's similar to that, and you can jump on and off the stairs.
You can't jump off the stairs, but you can jump on them.
Oh, that's right. You can jump on the stairs.
That's all.
Which is
really
some demerits in my book, but
so. It basically is sort of a modernized take on Castlevania 3. You can adjust certain things. You can change it so you don't get knocked back when you take a hit, which apparently a lot of people really appreciated. I appreciate having the option for people who want it. I took the knockback every time because I'm crazy like that.
You're hardcore.
Or stupid, whichever. But
it's a Castlevania, man.
Yeah,
that's
I mean
it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's how it goes. And it's just I don't know. There's 4 characters, you can switch between them at will. Losing one of them is like that's your lives system. So you have 4 characters once you have all 4 of them. But then there's another way you can play through the game where you kill them and you get a new ability for your sort of main Belmont type
Super Zangetsu.
Yeah, and so but then there's a way that if you beat it again, this is why I beat it so many times. If you beat it again after you do that, then you can play with the super powered up Zangetsu from the beginning and still get your partner characters.
Or you can play the other mode, which makes the game harder, and you don't get Zangetsu.
Right.
Or you can play the mode where you're Zangetsu and you don't kill or save the other people. You just ignore them and you stay as regular Zangetsu the whole time. Yeah, it's pretty impressive how much they do with what they've got.
Yeah, I mean,
they
honestly,
use all parts of the caribou.
Yeah, they definitely do. And honestly, in this one, I paid $60 for Bloodstained because I'm getting the physical PS4 on a disc version. But I don't know that I've played the demo of, and actually we streamed it. I think it was on the 4th of July, which sounds weird, but I think it was on 4th of July that we streamed the beta, the Kickstarter backer beta of the actual regular Bloodstained main game. And based on that, I like it a lot. I think it's going to be good. But even if it's not, like, I kind of feel okay about having gotten this out of it because this is super good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I hope that Inti Creates or Iga's, what is the name of the company that he created? I don't even know. Whatever. Iga and Inti Creates make another one of these would be so dope. Like this game is really. I'm honestly surprised I'm the only one who put it on their list. And again, it was my second place. I just loved it. I played it when there's a problem with the codes when the game first came out. So I was supposed to get it on PS4, but they were like, oh, there's a problem with the code, so we're giving you a Steam key. So I beat it like 3 times on Steam, and then when I got my PS4 code, then yeah, I beat it like 2 or 3 more times on my PS4.
I played it on the airplane going back and forth to San Francisco.
There you go.
Art play,
yeah. So if Art Play and Inti Creates make another one of these, I'm on board with that. Like I loved it, and I will probably play through it again at some point because it's also not a very long playthrough. The level designs are great. All the different character abilities are great and valuable.
It's actually one of the strong suits of this game that it is shorter and easier than the OG NES Castlevania games are.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's actually shorter than this.
I don't know if
it's considerably shorter than
easier.
if you're just playing through it once. It's considerably shorter than Castlevania 3 at the very least. There's a lot less. It definitely.
I mean, for me, yes, because I don't die over and over again.
Is.
Anyway, it's really cool. The bosses are neat and fun.
Yeah, the boss designs are really cool. Like this one that shovels coal into its furnace mouth. And then
the bosses use the stuff in the stage in a really interesting way in a bunch of different cases, which is really fun.
Yeah, the gold boss is really great. And it's
I like the little skeletons that are like go that way.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I liked this a lot.
Every character has unique sub weapons that are all cool.
The different characters are all really cool, especially there's the lady with the whip that can jump really high, and like they're all situationally useful. Even like she can jump really high, but sometimes you don't want to jump that high, and it's just like and she can slide and whatever. There's a guy that can turn into a bat.
Yeah, fake Alucard's weapon is not great most of the time, but there are some enemies that
he's got a sawed-off shotgun.
Perfect for
the vampire gothic equivalent of a sawed-off shotgun.
Right. I mean, he's got the same attack as Alucard does in Castlevania 3. Right?
Yes.
It's just a little fireball.
But they actually designed some of the enemies around him, so that is useful sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, and being able to turn into a bat is pretty useful.
I think it's 10 or $15 on like every platform.
Yeah, I think 15 on the Switch. There's get it on Switch. It's a great game.
For me, there's just something off like at every little step that just isn't. It's like almost a Castlevania game, but not quite. And I can't quite put my finger on what it was all the time, but it's like in between Rondo and the traditional ones in a way that.
Well, they had to file the serial numbers off, right? Because they don't have the rights.
I really
to
like the
Castlevania,
soundtrack is like close but no cigar. Like not as good as the
really
NES ones or Rondo, in my opinion.
They actually got Michiru Yamane did some of the tracks.
It's not.
Soundtrack is
okay.
fine, but I don't think
it's
it doesn't
kind of
stand
abrasive and
up
obnoxious in a few places. I thought. But it's good. It is a very good one of those. And like Joe said, like nobody else is making them, so I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
So dig in.
Yeah, I don't know. I loved it. Like I said, I beat it. I think almost every way you can, except for underpowered Zangetsu with no friends, because that's like unreasonably hard. I wasn't in for that. But I beat it every other way.
Yeah.
You can
Hey man, give me a Castlevania 3 where I can have all my buddies with me all the time.
Yeah. Yep.
The only thing it's missing is a dude that can crawl on walls.
Yeah, that kind of breaks Castlevania 3 though. So,
all right, what's next up on the hit parade?
All right, now at number 9, Crosscode.
Yay!
Which is Eric's
my number
Another one of
one
those things
game
that
of
I
the
sort of
year,
is.
which I have not finished yet. It's
That's-
very long. It's like 40,
I was really surprised that you put this game at the very
it's
top
like 30,
of your list.
40 hours just to finish it, and then probably closer to 100 if you're trying to do everything. I don't know. I played this. I had one like really good session with it that was like 15 hours, and then put it down for a long time, and then I went back to it and got sucked in hard again for another 15 hours, and then had to put it away again while I was trying to like get through a bunch of other stuff to see where things were going to land on my list. But I definitely intend to go back and finish it at some point. This game was made by one person basically. He had some help in some things, but it was mostly a one-man show. It's been on early access on Steam for like 4 or 5 years, and it's been like in the works for even longer than that. It is this is like catnip for Eric in a multitude of different ways. The first one is just that it is an overhead action adventure RPG thing, like Secret of Mana or classic Legend of Zelda games.
I was gonna say,
which
getting serious Secret of
Right.
Mana vibes from this with three character party.
Yeah, it doesn't have like the Secret of Mana thing where you have to like wait to attack or anything. It's just you can just like hammer on
Thank
buttons.
God.
You play as a character so the setup of the story is that this is set in the distant future where there is actual space travel, and in traveling around through space, somebody found this planet that had this thing called the track on it, or the path or whatever, and they set up a fake MMO where you inhabit these bodies that are made out of like this weird jelly stuff, and they use these fake jelly bodies to make an MMO that they use to explore the world and try and solve the mysteries of the path. So like all the characters in the game, so some of them are NPCs that are like programmed AIs that you interact with in the world. Some people are just actual humans that just live on the planet. And then like the characters that you see running around with my character, who's the blue-haired girl, they are other players. And then so the world is populated. It's meant to be like a fake MMO kind of a thing. And so you'll just like bump into, when you're in like hub areas, there'll be just people like milling around talking to each other. And you'll also see people just like running around in the world like you would in any other MMO. And then like the quests, there's like a bunch of crafting stuff, which is also pulled from MMOs. So every time you kill an enemy, they have a chance to drop various types of crafting materials. And every time you like destroy a piece of plant life in the world, that has a chance to drop different things. And so that's how you build your armor and get more powerful. It also has this thing where this game is like, one of its biggest flaws is that it just has all these systems that are just like stacked on top of each other, which is a result of all the time that this person put into this game. But so like as you're fighting enemies, like as you do better, the more enemies that you kill in a row, the higher your rank goes. And as your rank goes up, the enemies are more likely to drop good stuff. So it's like you want to fight well and also like string a bunch of combats together. There's a ton of different like statistics, and it definitely captures like that portion of it being an MMO. I think that most of the stuff that is that kind of stuff is streamlined in such a way that it doesn't feel cumbersome. It's not like you have to like follow a guide or like grind a whole bunch to get stuff. I was just generally taking my time and exploring, and I usually had enough to at least keep my this game also has like a character level and a equipment level like an MMO or like Destiny or something, and so as long as you keep those two things pretty close to the same, you're good to go. And then when you start out, you're a spheromancer, so you can shoot these balls. You can charge up your balls, and when you charge up a ball, it will bounce off a thing in the world, and then that's what the major puzzle solving element in the game is that you have to like bounce your balls off of things to hit switches that will open up different areas where you can go to bounce your next ball off of a thing to hit a different switch. Then as you're playing through the game, you enter these temples with all these different puzzles in them, and there are too many puzzles in some of the temples, and they take too long to finish because, again, it's like you can feel the places where it's just like the person that was making it just like, well, I'll just keep adding things, and kept adding things until there was a little bit too much. But eventually you gain the ability to lend different elements to your attack. So you can like turn your ball into a fireball, or you can turn your ball into an ice ball or a lightning ball. And then they stack different like mechanics on top of that, where you can like shoot a water pillar and it freezes, and then you can bounce a thing off of that to like bounce it around the room and like hit a switch that's someplace else. So there's the puzzle solving stuff, there's the combat stuff, there's the MMO stuff, and then there's the story, which is kind of simple. It's like written like an old 16-bit RPG, where it's just like these kind of spunky, friendly characters kind of out exploring and having a good time. It doesn't, so far as I've gotten, it doesn't seem to be like a thing where it's like those characters are also trying to save the world from some grimdark bullshit. There is some serious shit happening in the background for sure. Like I was recently in an area where high level characters were being trapped and forced to like run the fucking MMO treadmill over and over and over again. And I have not yet.
They were gold farming?
Like kind of, yeah. Like there's an area that you like, one of your companions that you get to talk to is someone who's a programmer for the game, and he's like, this area shouldn't exist, what the fuck is this? And then you go there, and there are all these characters that are super high level that are like trapped there and can't escape and losing their fucking minds, and you're trying to figure out what they're doing while also trying to figure out how the hell to get out of there. And I have not solved all of that stuff yet. Like I got through that section, and then it dumped me back into the happy MMO portion of the game. And then one of the other
have yet to see the resolution.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, so we'll see where all that stuff leads. But I like the characters, I like the world, I like the way it looks. I just like, it's just a place that I really enjoyed being in. And the last thing that I'll mention is that it has this it is an overhead game with a jump, and a lot of the exploration is based on you like running along things, and then it's like an auto jump, so you like run to a thing and then you have to kind of gauge if you can make the jump to the next thing. And most of the time it's really good. Sometimes you'll be running along a skinny thing and it's kind of hard to keep your angle right, or running straight, but most of the time it just feels really good to like figure out, like you'll see like a treasure chest on a thing in the world, and then you'll have to like follow the treasure chest, the level of the area that the treasure chest is on, and you like track that with your eyes back to a thing that tracks to a different thing. Then you go like, well, if I get up here and I run along here, and then I can jump to this, and then I can hit this switch, and then I can jump from there to a different thing, and then I can get back to where this chest is, or to where this next exit is. And just all of that feels really good. It's just there is a lot going on in Crosscode, and I liked pretty much all of it. There's, like I said, there's some fiddly jump puzzles, and there's some of the dungeons are a little bit too long for my taste. That was kind of what pushed me away, but I think this is a really special, weird thing that just, like a lot of games that came out this year, like Ashen and Mutineer Zero, are also a couple of games that aren't quite perfect, but just like are specifically designed to appeal to things that I like in video games. And this one was the best of those, and also just had the most of the things that I like in video games. I think it's really good.
I'm super intrigued by it. Like, I wanted to play it when it was initially announced as only a PC game. I couldn't see myself finishing it ever. But now that it's supposed to be coming to Switch this year, I'm very interested.
It's a thing that you can kind of pick away at, and
how many times are you gonna say that?
You have to. The problem is that there's so many mechanics that coming back to it is kind of difficult, which is definitely a flaw with the, like, it's not a flaw with the game, but it's like a thing that makes it difficult to recommend.
You gotta kind of stick with it.
And also, as you're
sounds
attacking, like you build up special meter, and then you get like there's this huge. I showed it off at one point, but there's like this huge board where each different element has different like attacks and different paths that you can pick. As you level up, you get points to dump into those, and so every time you change your element, you also change what your special attack is, and then you can charge up your special attacks to do different special attacks based on how you stack them in the grid board thing. It's just there's a lot, man. There's a fucking lot going on in Crosscode.
Yeah, it seems like there's more going on than I would be able to keep separate in my brain. I think this sounds like I get why it's catnip for you in multiple ways, but I think it's like the opposite for me. Like there's just too much. Like looking at that sort of sphere grid type thing that you mentioned that I saw that earlier. Like I would just be like, I don't know what the hell is going on with any of this stuff.
Well, you can also like, so you can pick a path with a certain power up, and then you can like zoom out, and then you can like switch paths at will. So if you're like, well, I tried this out, but I don't really like this power, then you can swap to the other path and use the other power. So it's like you're never really quite locked in. And it seems like so far from what I've seen, it seems like you'll be able to get like most of the stuff and then kind of just build your character to your taste when you get towards the end of the game. Almost like a Borderlands or a Diablo 3 or something. I don't know. It's cool. I like it a lot. There's a fucking lot. I went through a lot. Like that was a very dense, like 10 minutes of me talking, but that's just how that game is. It's super dense. There's a lot of stuff going on. But I think it's super, super good.
Nice.
I want to play this so much now. But then Mike said there was a Switch version. I was about to buy it on Steam.
Wait for the Switch port.
All right. Now we are to a three-way tie for 6th.
All right.
Starting with Tetris Effect, which Eric and I voted for.
Yay! What's up with Tetris Effect?
Tetris Effect it's Tetris, man. But it's
Hey, I
Tetris
played Tetris.
Via
What if Tetris but drugs?
through the filter of
Q Games.
Q Games, Tetsuya Mizuguchi. And so if you know about the kinds of games that he does, the kinds of things that he goes for, then you know that he has slathered music and atmosphere all over Tetris to make it into what it is.
Check out these camels.
Exactly.
I still haven't played this, which is why it's not on my list, but I've heard people say like this is the best version of Tetris, like full stop.
Since the Game Boy one.
That exists.
I'm gonna die on that hill
yes, of
forever.
course. Since the what do you? Okay, wait. Now I know we want to talk about Tetris Effect, but I have to know, what do you like about the Game Boy?
It's the one that I played
than
hundreds of
Tetris
hours
Effect?
of. Also, it doesn't have like the T-spin and all that bullshit, which I still don't like. Anyway,
Okay.
This does.
there is a purity of Game Boy Tetris that will never be matched because they have decided that that's not what they want Tetris to be, which is fine. But that's when I think of Tetris, that is what I think of. And
so when I very quickly, when I did the Tetris episode of Same Name Different Game, I did a bunch of research and I found out that the Tetris company, whenever they license a Tetris game, whether it's Q Games or Nintendo themselves or whoever is making it, there's like certain guidelines, and the T-spin is one of those things that must it has to be in there.
Yeah, there's essentially a set of rules about this is what Tetris is, and then you can sort of work from there.
Yep.
it's a key mechanic for especially for really, really high level Tetris. But it just doesn't.
It turns out I don't really play high level Tetris.
Right. Like the other thing that the Game Boy doesn't have that is now like the way you get pieces, like you get one of every piece, every 7 pieces, or like it's like they call it the bag. Like that wasn't in Game Boy Tetris either, but now it has to be in all the Tetris games. That's just how it is. So can never go home again when it comes to Tetris. But anyways,
it's true.
I've heard nothing but great things about Tetris Effect, and I've heard that against all odds, playing Tetris in VR is fucking dope.
It is, in fact, pretty dope. So as I noted way back at the beginning of this, I got a PSVR before Christmas, and one of the first things I did with it was play this. Essentially, it was something I'd been looking at for. Started, I was building up games that supported it, and eventually I got to enough of them that either supported it or were games that were directly for it. So I bit because there was a special going on, and went ahead with it. So I will note, I played a whole bunch of this before I got that, and I still thought it was fantastic. So all the things, that we talked about, or that, I sort of brushed past at the beginning of this, of, the cohesion of gameplay and music and aesthetics and all that stuff is all there, even without the VR stuff, but it just ramps way up when that's all there, and you get into the synesthesia of it so much more when you're doing it that way. It's it can almost be overwhelming.
Well, the problem I have when I was messing around with it in VR is just that, like, when you're playing Tetris well, you're like totally locked into what's happening on the board and what the next pieces are. And so, like, I would just utterly tune out the VR stuff. And then when I was, like, looking at the VR stuff, my Tetris gameplay would suffer to an extent that I would, like, fail. So it was really hard to, like, lock into one thing or the other. It wasn't, like, the VR stuff is cool, but it just isn't conducive to really good Tetris play in my experience.
So I will say that when I was doing really well, I was experiencing both things. Because I was so zoned out to anything except what I was doing, which I think was exactly what he's going for. But I can totally get how that wasn't happening.
Yeah,
all
I would
the
go
time.
like, "Ooh, there's a dolphin," and like, "Oh fuck, I put that piece in the wrong spot because I wasn't paying attention."
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So for us poor people who don't have PSVRs, is there any chance that this will come to a non-PlayStation platform at some point, or is like co-published by Sony or something? It's weird to me that this game's only on PS.
I believe it was published by Sony. I could be wrong.
It says, the Wikipedia says it was published by Enhance Inc. I'm gonna guess that Sony threw a shitload of money at them, and that's why it's where it is right now. I have no idea whether anything else is happening at any other point.
Well, I hope I get a chance to play this someday.
Mizuguchi games have appeared on lots of other
Rez
platforms.
is on everything now, right?
Yeah, Rez and Lumines is on other stuff and so on. So I would figure since they didn't publish it, that it would eventually come somewhere else. But I don't know. So yeah.
I mean, he's also weird about
soundtrack.
interfaces, right? Like, what was the one that he did that was only that was like the sequel to Rez, kind of Child of
Eden.
Child of Eden. That never came.
That's a Kinect game.
Well, right, but this is a PSVR game.
Right.
This is
you can play this without
this
PSVR.
is just as good.
You couldn't play Child of Eden without the Kinect thing because the control was the Kinect stuff.
Right. It's not the same thing because this is just as good, if not better, depending on who you are and how you interface with the VR stuff without the VR stuff.
Right.
So I think I also think it's made on Unreal, so it's like I think it would be. I would say that there's like a good
Very
chance
portable.
that it will come to other stuff at some point, but it's hard to say when.
I'll get it when it's on the Switch.
Anyway, it's Tetris. I like it a lot. I actually have synesthesia, and games that are supposed to emulate that don't really do it for me because it doesn't hit in the same way that actual, like, I went to a Neurosis concert with Anthony and Kurt a couple years ago, and there was one point where I totally flipped out and had like an acid. I've never taken acid or done any psychedelic drugs, but I had to go sit down and cover my face because I was like disconnecting from the world in a way that I had never experienced and just from music before. But it was like scales and feathers, and I was drowning in an ocean and like lost myself for a minute. And like actual just regular listening to music, like when I was used to write about metal, I would find that sometimes I would write about stuff in a way that like people couldn't relate to because they were listening to music and not like visually or physically sensationally feeling it the same way that I was. And I never had a word for it until like video games started talking about synesthesia, and it wasn't until like that exact moment at that concert was like, oh, like this is actually my brain is like interacting with this in a weird way that most people don't experience. And that's why these like synesthesia games, like they're cool, but they don't work on me in the way that they do on other people, I think. But anyway, like I I love Tetris, and I like things that look cool, and I like the music in this game. And actually, the biggest, it's not the visual stuff that works for me in this. It's the way that, like, when you move the pieces around, they like play notes and stuff, or they just add sound effects.
It's all synced.
Yeah, that syncs to the music, and that stuff really, really works. It's a good Tetris game, man, and it looks cool. And there's camels and dolphins and. It's good.
All that
good
stuff.
ass.
And everybody loves camels and dolphins.
It'll take you places.
It'll take you, like Mike said. You can play Tetris on the moon. It's great.
I need to play this.
You should play it. You like Tetris? Okay, well then you'll
Tetris.
like this game.
And Megan likes that. Megan doesn't play video games really at all, but she plays Tetris, so I think.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll pick this up the first time I have a chance, basically.
Yeah. Right.
Tetris is cool.
All right, Tetris Effect.
Feel it. Also,
next,
it's a great
also
title
tied for
because
sixth.
like Tetris Effect is a thing that is in the popular consciousness as a like like people go into a weird hypnotic state while they're playing Tetris and call it the Tetris
video
Effect.
game that gives you a brain disorder.
Right.
Remember that great? Was it?
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like
it
when
was
you play too much Burnout and you think about slamming.
I think it must
things.
be Anthony took off again, but there was a great Heroes of the Web about somebody like, man, it was a. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Like about some guy who like passed out in his bathroom because of the Tetris Effect. Or something.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to dig that up now, but
it was something about the tiles.
Yeah, it was something about the tiles
Yeah.
in the bathroom made him freak out because of how much Tetris he was
remember that.
playing. It was like, this is what happened to me with the audio surf that one time when I had a fever and it was making me hallucinate. Anyways, what's next?
All right.
Man, hang on a second. Give me 1 second.
Next is Mega Man.
Mega Man 11.
11. They made a new Mega Man game, and it's good, and it's not like the other Mega Man games exactly.
I'm loving this redemption arc for Capcom, really.
How many
They had a
years
rough
ago was
number
it
of
where they were
years.
like, we're just not going to make any more Mega Man games, sorry.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself.
Maybe 5-ish or something like that. I don't know. The last one actually came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, the last one came out 10 years ago, and it seemed like when...
What is that true? Jesus.
2008 was for Mega Man 10. They were going to do
Holy
Powered Up
shit.
2 or whatever it was, Powered Up
God, I'm
Universe,
old.
and that was
Well,
canned a few
Universe
years
was a
after that.
different thing. Universe was a different
Just
thing.
watch
That was
all
like
of us
Little
turn
Big
into
Planet.
corpses right here on this podcast.
Yep. Yep.
But they
15
went.
years of content.
I was kind of expecting them to just, kind of crap out another sort of Mega Man 910 style.
After
like,
10 years, they'll crap out another one.
just like, well, we can sell this,
Passionate.
reuse some pixel assets and we'll make another game like this and it'll sell. And I feel like they really put in more effort than was strictly required of them, and they made a pretty darn good game.
Yeah. This one is not. I don't think I would put it in the company of 2, 3, 9. But I would.
I don't think 9's very good, but whatever.
I like 9 a lot, but I would put it above 10. I would put it above probably definitely 4.
Okay, we don't need to list them all. It's one of the better Mega Man games.
But it's one of the better ones.
And you guys like Mega Man, so
Yeah, I think the key was that they did decide to do some new things, like Mike said, and not just. I mean, so there's 2 parts to this. They actually did some reasonably new stuff for Mega Man, like the double gear system is actually like a
Double
new
gear.
mechanic. That in the same way as like I really like the rush armors in Mega Man 6. Yeah. I really like the rush armors in Mega Man 6. I might be in the minority opinion on that.
No,
but
they're great.
cool.
I mean, they're super fun.
Yeah. So,
Well-
like the double gear system kind of feels like that. Like it's a mechanic that's not in any other Mega Man game, and maybe it will never come back. I don't know, but they incorporate it into the game in a way that it works. And unfortunately, because I hadn't played in a while, you don't see me use it a lot in this
you
footage.
did
that we're
slow
showing.
time down for a second here. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I did. But not as much as like when I played the game originally, I used it a lot more because there's a lot of places where you're kind of supposed to use it. And since I hadn't played the game in a few months, I kept forgetting.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, when you first
That I
start
had
using it, it's not something you're used to, right? Everything else is Mega Man and kind of the same as before, and this is different. So you don't have the instinct to actually do anything with it. But once you get used to this particular game, it's actually super useful all the time. And once I'd played the game a few times, I found myself just switching in and out of it constantly. Just slowing down time for just like 2 seconds here and there to sneak between enemies or things like that. Or I didn't use the power mode nearly as much, but
No.
powering up some of your special weapons with it to like super attacks is really fun. I like this game a lot because the gear system, I think it fleshes out Mega Man's abilities. Plus, they put, as you can see in the video, they put all the weapons on the right stick so you can switch between them instantaneously.
I fucking love
Plus,
that.
they added.
I didn't play this game, but I love
Plus,
that
they
idea.
added
So
buttons for Rush Coil and Rush Jet, and it just means that now all of a sudden Mega Man has every one of his abilities available instantaneously, in a way that even like the Mega Man X games didn't really do, like with the shoulder button switching, and it makes him feel like super dynamic, just like as if he can do all these things at the same time, as opposed to now I'm going to be Airman for a little while,
Now, you did say earlier that this game doesn't let you jump through the Robot Master doors,
Look,
right?
nobody's perfect. It's
so
not
there's
number
no way
one
it can
for
be
a
a
reason.
top-tier
When
Mega
you
Man
jump into the boss door, you get sucked to the floor.
Yeah, so that's
Or the
some
door
bullshit.
I don't understand how that happened.
Fuck that.
Like, I don't understand how people who apparently never played a Mega Man game made one that's so good.
Yeah. You can't jump through the boss door, and there's another thing that I thought was weird.
There's
like,
there's
that. Oh, the music. The music is not very Mega Man.
I like it. It's
not
very
great,
good, but I like it.
Right, it's not offensive. I'm not like, oh my god, my ears are bleeding. I'm just like, this is not jams in the way that a Mega Man game's soundtrack should be. Wall-to-wall bangers.
On the other hand, compared to every other Mega Man game that has voice acting, this one's really good, and it's got a dude who says, "I like to spike."
Is that Spike Man?
Impact Man.
Okay.
I also like that.
Impacted
Mega
Man
Man's...
is a totally different boss that you do not want to fight.
Yeah, you can't really understand him.
I like that Mega Man's appearance changes when he changes weapons.
Yeah, you got little headgear and stuff.
Like, again, not a super necessary thing, but
cool.
I just think it's cool. I actually like the art style. Like, some people
I'm the guy
like the art
that
style at
I
all.
did not play this game because I didn't like the art style, but it's because there's too many games. It's just like sometimes I have to go make a decision based on something that is totally irrational, not really fair, and that was just where I was at with this.
And you're like, meh, I don't like the look of this.
Joe, use the air shooter on the mech walker. Come on.
He does climb. Shut up, Mike. Learn how to play Contra. Like, the way he climbs ladders is weird. I'm gonna say that.
I actually don't like his run animation.
Is it the animation or the way it feels when you climb the ladder?
It's the animation. Like, it's very stilted. And
I see what you're saying.
It just.
But
he looks like he has a hinge in the middle of his back.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a robot. He might.
Yeah, he is a weird. He's a weird little robot man, so he might. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot. I think it was a really. I don't know if it was. It's not the return to form. Well, I mean, it kind of is, just because there hadn't been a game in forever. But Resident Evil 7 was like, wow, they've proven that they can still do this. And this one was just like, wow, they've proven that they're actually going to make another one of these.
Well, so Resident Evil 7 to me was like, oh, they not only can they still do this, but they can like reimagine it in like a totally different way. Whereas this seems like, oh, they can still make a good Mega Man game. That's cool.
They can make a good Mega Man game, and they're willing to make a couple of changes to keep it from.
This is more like the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Right, and I'm really curious what they're gonna do next. Like, are they gonna maybe finally make another X game, or are they gonna just make Mega Man 12? And if they do,
I'm almost certain that their next game is going to be another one of these.
Yeah,
and then after that, they'll probably do something a little more original. But that's okay. I could put up with one more game very much like this.
Right, and this sold pretty well, if I'm not mistaken. Right, like. It reviewed well. It sold well. Yeah,
it's good.
Remember all the drama about them not making any more Mega Man games like 5 years ago?
Yeah. 5 years is basically a lifetime in the world of. Remember when they killed Mass Effect 5 years ago? Look forward to another Mass Effect in probably 2 years.
But that's what I'm saying about Capcom's sort of redemption arc, right? Is like they were the Resident Evil games were garbage.
I mean, there was only
they weren't doing Mega Man.
Like one bad Resident Evil game made by Capcom.
It was really
but
bad.
It was
so bad.
It was so
yeah,
bad.
It was, but I mean, like,
are you guys forgetting about Resident Evil 0?
No, actually, and don't Resident Evil 0.
But that was so
good,
long ago. Like then that after 0
but
was.
Also, but wait. What about what was the Operation Raccoon City?
Yeah, but that was like outsourced to somebody else, right? Like that wasn't a mainstream. Like nobody.
Yeah, the SOCOM.
Nobody would have considered that like to be a mainline Resident Evil game.
No, but that's what they were doing with the
Right.
property, right? Like they were like, this is the thing that people
Right.
want
Well,
out of Resident Evil is a squad-based
yeah, I don't
shooter.
know. I
Like,
mean, it's
oh
like
yeah, that's what
Mario
we want.
Hotel didn't hurt Mario. Resident Evil 6 though killed Resident Evil for a little while.
Right. Well,
But people forget and move on, and then make another
Yeah,
game.
It's good.
right. And
That's
Mega
where we're
Man
at.
11, it's good. I recommend it to anybody who likes
I'm glad
games that are Mega
Capcom didn't
Man.
turn into Konami and just like say fuck it and make
Yeah, and just
pachinko
stop
games
making
and
it.
exercise
Here's the
equipment.
Mega Man slot
Yeah.
machine.
Our Resident Evil expert and also Joe confirmed that this is the best Mega Man game of the last 10 years.
I can't fucking believe they put out Resident Evil 2 and then didn't put it the thing in where you push start and it goes Resident Evil. It's the same.
Saving that
It's
for
the
the
same
collector's
fucking thing
edition.
in this
I
game where you
haven't
jump through the
played it
door
with
and it
the
doesn't.
vintage,
He doesn't slide through for
yeah.
some reason. I don't understand it, but
All right.
I haven't played Resident Evil 2 with the vintage soundtrack
maybe.
turned on yet, so maybe when you turn that on,
Maybe.
it says Resident Evil 2. I don't know.
anyway,
All right.
I'm really
Speaking of
happy you
surprisingly
guys
good
like
sequels, take us to our next target.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm good on.
Yeah, our final
Wait.
tied for
Give
number
me 1
6.
second. Why
What?
is this not on my list anymore?
Jesus fucking Christ.
What happened? Where is it? It's not on my list.
I went in the order you wanted.
Oh, it reverted the name back to Tetris Effect again. What the fuck? All right, go ahead. I got it now. I have 4 Tetris
Is
Effects on my
God
list.
of
I don't know
War.
why.
God of War.
God of War.
Our third, tied for number 6.
I thought this was Gourd of War. I thought it was
Yeah,
a game.
Gourd of War.
The farming
yeah.
simulator.
Yeah,
It's
you
about-
play
it's
as
about
you play as
pumpkins
the
that-
singer and the tragically hip.
That's too
Fighting
soon.
Norse.
Rest in power.
So this is on sale in
Yeah.
the PlayStation Store right now for 30% off, and I bought it, and I played it for 13 minutes and 37 seconds earlier today to get some footage of it.
Nice.
So that's why it's not
Good
on my
job.
list. But why is it on your lists? Kurt and Joe, I believe?
I've actually voted it. I put it at number 2 on my list. And it was after the kind of disappointment of God of War 3. I didn't think I was going to, be interested in a God of War game again. I felt like God of War 3 was way too over the top. For a series that's over the top, it went too far. It really reveled in just kind of disgusting gore
It's very
and
gruesome.
ultra violence.
This
which,
game isn't without that.
right. I was getting there as well. And as someone who does actually enjoy, a bit of the old ultra violence, that's saying something when even I'm like, oh god, this is just off-putting.
Video well,
Um, Yeah. So, so this game does not shy away from ultra violence or anything like that, but it does it in a less sort of callous way, and I think that's a lot of what drew me to this game, is that there's a lot of care in what went into making this game. It feels like there was a lot of thought about everything that went into this game, about how it should feel and how they're presenting things, and what's the story they're really trying to tell, and that they actually are trying to tell a story other than Kratos is pissed and wants to kill all the gods,
And does.
and just does so as bloodily
Yeah.
as possible. So there's all of that wrapped up in it, but really it's just as I said it earlier, it's about, for me, a lot of the times it's about a game that just grabs onto me, and I just feel compelled to keep playing it until I'm done. And this is very much one of those. The feel of running around, they give a lot of weight to Kratos in this game,
yeah.
where he didn't have it in the earlier games.
No, he did not.
And there's a weight, but it doesn't feel overly heavy. It just feels deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
And the combat, I think, works really well for me. The axe and the axe throw in particular get a lot of attention, and rightfully so. It just feels
I got to do that.
do a bunch of moves and then fling the
I got
axe
to
out.
do that twice
pull
while I
it
was
back.
capping this footage, and I fell in love with it immediately.
Yeah, it's just like, oh,
It's
this
one of those
is so
video
good.
game things where the kinematics are just like so on point.
Yes,
and it's
that's
just like,
exactly
oh
right.
yeah, I can throw this axe, and then the way it like slings back through everything to return to your hand.
Yeah, the
is
way
awesome.
it thunks
Yeah.
into something, and then the way it comes back, and the noise
Yeah.
it makes, and all that stuff just works.
Yeah. I mean,
And
also it has boy.
Um,
Um,
and that's actually
But-
something that's a key also in this game. You have a secondary character who
can't be killed, thank God.
cannot be killed, but also you never like take control of them. You never direct them or anything, but you can affect what they do. You can. There's upgrades and things that you can put into them
Right.
to change how he works. But it's not. You don't have that sort of thing of I have to worry about they're gonna fuck things up and blow, my sneaking around, or they're gonna be a liability. It's not about that, which is good because that would be kind of at odds with the story that the game is trying to tell.
I understand that, like, at some points, like, that second actor acts independently in a way that is frustrating, but plays into the plot quite well. Is that true?
But it's
Yeah,
different. It's
in a
different
way.
than. It's different than.
It's like part of the-
like when you have an AI
Right.
partner in Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
They act
Yes.
frustratingly.
It's not where it's just like, what the fuck are
It's like,
you
what the
doing?
fuck are you doing?
Like you, yeah.
Boy.
It's not where like, why is the AI doing that? You're like, I understand what's happening. Don't want it to happen.
Right.
and
didn't
that's
think-
actually that is the one thing that sort of bothered me a little bit in this game is as that kind of thing happens, it bugged me, but I think that was on purpose. And it's all wrapped in like the story that this is telling. And they pay it off, but for a while it's just like ah. But so there's all of that. The presentation is amazing. It looks gorgeous, and there's a really good sense of place and exploration.
Yeah, that's why I want to play it so bad.
That's tied into all this. That just totally.
Yeah, I
nailed
love
it
the
for
Norse
me.
mythology aesthetic and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as someone who was totally to roaming around Skyrim, like I know you were, this feels like
and
something that you could
Skellige
get
in The
something
Witcher
out of as well.
3.
Yeah, and Skellige. Yeah, actually, that's a good point too. Yeah.
And also, I just like the idea of taking this character that like fucked up all of Greek mythology and throwing him into another mythology to fuck up. I think that's really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do some interesting things with reacting to that. That I liked.
Yeah, I've read there's some criticism about how the like women are treated in the game. That I wish I could remember who wrote. There was a couple of articles that were going around like when all the big sites were doing their Game of the Year stuff, and I wish I could remember so I could shout that out. But that was all like baggage I kind of expected to be there, considering who the main character of this game is and the setting of it and stuff. So
yeah. It's interesting.
I just wanted to shout it out
it's
because I had written down someplace the actual title of the article and where to find it, but now I can't find that. So,
well, it's. I mean, they're not wrong. I haven't read the specific things you're talking about, I guess, but they're not wrong. But I will say, at least, like, you don't get bonus points for like having a threesome with these like cartoonishly big.
God damn it!
I'll know
the only thing I wanted from a God of War game.
Yeah.
I can't mash on X
thrust.
to have an orgasm.
No, sure can't.
Yeah, the main narrative thrust is, Kratos and the boy and their relationship with each other. Yeah. But there are a couple of main, female characters in the game, women who do have an aspect of a story to tell as well. That's kind of an interesting, secondary view. But yeah, I don't think. I think it's inherently somewhat wrapped up in that by default.
Actually, just
that you're going to get
the
stuck
existence of that conversation is another thing that makes me really want to play this game, so I can
I think is
find out for
sure.
myself how I feel about all that stuff. Like the fact that the plot and the story and the politics of a God of War game can be discussed in even a critical but meaningful way is really interesting, because the other games, like, the plot is like just nothing. It's
it's just nothing. Yeah.
Right.
Kill the next god.
I think
it could be fun, but it's
only,
meaningless. Other than
the only thing that as far as that stuff goes, the only thing that I feel there's a segment of the population who takes those criticisms and then runs with them to a point of saying like, well, the game, like, I'm not going to play
That's
this.
fine. Like, they don't have to.
You suck if you like
There's a lot
it.
of games
No, but
you don't have to play this one if that's a thing that bothers you.
No, no, you don't have to. But I'm saying like you can still, even if a thing has themes or issues that you don't like, you can still like, that doesn't mean you have to just write it off, you know. And I think that's a good conversation.
Yeah. Also,
to have.
then on the flip side of that is if you see those criticisms and go like, I don't like the criticisms, that's not a good excuse to like tell someone to die, or kill themselves, or
well, okay,
that
goes without saying.
That's absolutely true.
I think those criticisms are good. I think they're accurate because basically this whole thing is about like his wife gets fridged at the beginning, as you're seeing right here, and then but I mean, also it's about him wanting to pay respect to her wishes, right? That's
why I want to play it. I want to find out. I need to know.
The quest is that.
Yeah,
you know, his wife has said, "Do this."
And also, I want to
me.
do sweet shit with Kratos again because I didn't really care for God of War 3. Like, I never really played too much God of War 3, but I really like God of War 1 and 2. Like, and to reimagine that seems fun. Anyways, next.
So I didn't finish this one, but I still put it on my list because, like you said, the weight of the movement, the combat, all felt pretty good. My only problem was that after like 12 hours, it started to like, I didn't feel like there was enough variance in the combat, even though it still felt pretty good. Like I think that's fair. I was like, I want to do something more or different, or see enemies that are maybe a little bit newer and fresher. And then I talked to a guy I work with who had finished it, and he's like, oh yeah, you're like halfway through. I'm like, I don't need 12 more hours of this.
Yeah, I mean, you get, you know, powers and all that kind of stuff, but realistically speaking, it's variance on what you've already had and so on and so forth. So I think that's a fair criticism.
Open to me, so I could kind of see like, okay, I'll be able to do this and this and this, but like I don't feel like that's going to fundamentally change the experience of the combat. And I fought a couple bosses, and that was fun. And the story is not grabbing me in such a way where I want to play 12 more hours of this to see how it all wraps up. So that's kind of where I set it down. But I still really liked a lot of it. The writing was fun. The Dwarf Brothers are great.
Dwarf Brothers are great.
Help make your weapons and forge your weapons and stuff. And like you said, the world is
there's one Dwarf Brother that is very much the quintessential like fantasy dwarf of just, you know, kind of drunken and kind of disreputable and so on and so forth. And then his brother, who is incredibly fastidious and
sort of
proper and so on.
CD,
and then you're like, hey, can you do something with this? And you bring him like a severed, totally out. And there's a lot of comedy to be mined there, which I think is pretty funny.
All right, next.
Yeah, next. All right.
Can you guys move on to a game that I can play instead of this and Tetris, which I'm just sad about constantly?
Nope, because the next one,
the next game
play
is
either.
PC.
Yes, he can play.
What is it? What is it?
Oh, it's on PC. That's right.
Yeah. Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah.
Yay.
This is a fun video game where you race cars around a bunch in England.
As of this morning, I have played about a half hour of this, and it's real good.
It's pretty and fast and fun, and the game tells you you're awesome over and over again.
Yep.
So this is the first time I've played a Forza game ever, and I've been kind of ever.
So, okay.
The word.
Well, I wasn't sure if he was saying Horizon versus regular Forza.
Any Forza.
Yeah, okay.
And it's been a long time since I played a racing game, and I've been kind of wanting to get into one. And this looked like a good place to start, and I'm really glad I did. It is just a big old happy ball of fun. Like, there are some games on these lists that, you know, we can talk and have serious discussions about, or that made me feel emotions. This was just like, oh, this is nice. Like, I'm just driving a car real fast and listening to a very limited selection of 80s hip-hop.
For those that don't know anything or don't much about the series, so the Forza series was originally developed as a just super detailed like racing simulation, and they just went bananas and all that stuff. And at some point, you know, a number of years ago, they kept going with that series, but then they broke off and made a secondary series, which is the Horizon series, which is open world and much less worried about being realistic and being about, you know, the of car porn and all this stuff.
As you can tell by the endless stone walls that Eric is plowing through.
Yeah. So it's a nice balance for those people that are like, this is just way too simmy for me.
So my question is, because I'm unlike Mike, I have played a Forza game before, but it was a mainline Forza game. And are the controls less stiff in the Horizon games?
The controls are good.
Controls are great.
Okay, because that's what I didn't like about the I played Forza 2 because it came with my Xbox 360. I got it was one of the pack-ins. And the controls were way too stiff for me to get.
So originally the Forza experience, like I said, very simmy. Like you could turn on various assists and things like that, but it was like, well, this is not really the way you want to be playing this game, right? Whereas Forza Horizon is much more about,
it's very intuitive and approachable.
If you want to go really fucking fast and go off that sweet jump, we say do that. Go as far as you fucking can.
So I will say that the thing about
also, you can also like do a straight up rally.
Like the difference,
it does both.
The thing is with the Forza Horizon games is that it has all that tweaker culture in there. If you really want to like adjust the pressure on your shocks or whatever,
right. But it's not the point.
But there's a ton of assists that are kind of turned on by default, and then you kind of adjust. You tune the experience to how you want to play the game. So you can play it like an arcade racer, which is kind of what it is by default. And then if you want to turn all the assists off and then start tweaking everything, you can do that too. Which is one of the cool things about the Horizon games.
I want a game that controls more like Burnout and less like.
By default, this is more.
It's not
like
going to be quite as far as Burnout, but it's more in that direction.
It doesn't.
It's really approachable, and I'm not a driving
it doesn't
game guy.
reward you
like,
with
I didn't
boosts
have
or whatever,
trouble.
but it feels like a Burnout or something like that. It's an arcade.
Right, but I mean, just mean in terms of like how responsive.
It's much more.
Yep, it is that. Yes, like I said, you can make it whichever way you want. Like that's the kind of the nice thing about it. But by default, it's very approachable and very easy to just drive and have a good time, which is really what this game's all about.
To give you an idea, Forza Horizon 3 had a huge expansion that came out that was all Matchbox cars. It was like giant Matchbox cars.
Nice. Eric, did you choose the license plate PT to Fool, or was that okay? All right.
Yeah, you can customize your own license plate.
Okay. And this is like it's open world from like Scotland to like the Middle English countryside or something like that.
It's a very condensed top half of that island, basically. Yeah, you've got some Scotland, you got some England,
Britannia.
But it's like it takes you like 10 minutes to drive the entire length of it. So it's about like I don't know 1/10 scale or something like that.
Right.
Less than that. Way less than that. But it looks really good. And crucially, I think that they did a really good job with the track design. I'm one of those people who really kvetched a lot when Burnout moved into an open world game because I didn't enjoy driving around Paradise City. I didn't like the way the tracks were made. And I was afraid that going into this game I was going to feel the same way. But I found myself really enjoying most of the race types. And there are a lot of different race types, so if there's something you don't enjoy, you can basically just ignore them and still play for hours and hours and hours. So like I really like the sprint races, which are the ones where you cover a lot of ground. You don't do laps, you do like long stretches from point A to point B. But I also enjoyed the complete off-road races, which are they're like one step beyond rally racing, where there isn't even a road most of the time. It's just you like busting through fields and jumping off mountaintops and, splashing through water and stuff. And like, I had a super fun time doing some of those races.
Yeah, I'll note in the latter series' games, and I can't remember exactly when it came in, they added a rewind feature.
It's in this one.
That is like a huge quality of life boost. So it's like, when you don't have to be spot on in every possible turn in a race to make sure you win, right? You can sort of let it hang out and go a little harder, and if something just goes horribly, back a bit and then go, I needed a brake sooner, all right, let me do that.
There are a lot of ways in which you can tune the difficulty of the game to be right for you. I think by default the AI racers aren't very good, but like since I hadn't played these games, it was
the further you get in the game, they'll get more aggressive and they'll get better.
Well, maybe, but I found that the game just got easier and easier because I was looking to play it, and at some point I could have turned up the difficulty level, but I kind of was like, yeah, this is fine. Like, I want to know that as long as I don't muff a turn really bad, I'm probably going to come in first in this race. And that's fine. And like my punishment will be that, I won't use the rewind and maybe I'll come in third if I want to try and be a purist. But I could have easily turned the difficulty up, and you can tune your cars really easily to be just basically like way faster or have way better handling by just going to the store and loading up like pre-made loadouts that people have uploaded. So it's like, all right, I want this car to go from B class to S class, and all of a sudden it's going to be way faster and have just tons of acceleration. And then the races get much more difficult
to control.
But then the races get much more difficult because all the computer drivers are like that, except that they can handle their cars. Whereas by the time I finished, I had a couple of Ferraris and whatnot that could get over 300 kilometers an hour, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't I can maintain this for like 14 seconds, and there's a turn coming up, and I don't think this is going to work out, but it's going to be real fun finding out how it goes bad."
How many? Is they're all licensed vehicles, right? It's all.
Yeah, they're all real cars, which means they don't wreck very much.
Yeah. Right.
That's too bad.
Is it
whatever?
From all the various automakers? Like, is there any?
A lot of automakers, not all. They lost. Was it Mazda the license that they more or less lost? Or
I think that's true. Yeah.
There's like 3 Mazdas in the game, and
how many classic American muscle cars?
There's a few.
There are some.
Not a ton, but there's some.
I got a good old Charger. Started off with.
You were playing with Scott Lowe when you.
I was not playing with.
So yeah,
it just draws
pull people from your.
That's the Drivatar.
You were playing with his Drivatar,
but not even all of them are actual Drivatars. They just put the names of people on your Xbox Live friends list, which is weird because like most of the people on my Xbox Live friends list, a lot of them I don't remember who they are. But like Mike popped up in that race. It's just a good racing game. I feel like I liked Forza Horizon 3 quite a bit, but I think the map in this one's just a lot more better, a lot more interesting. And I also really like the weather thing, which they made a big deal out of, and is actually really cool. Where every week it's like sometimes like this week it's rainy, this week it's nice, this week it's fall, this week it's snowy.
Well, there's seasons,
right?
Yeah.
It's good.
Now it's winter. The only thing is I didn't love winter, so whenever that would pop up, I'd be like, oh, I'm stuck here for a while.
Yeah. Also, for whatever reason, this game runs really good, but it was not playing good with my capture gear, with my OBS capture thing.
Yeah,
so it looks really chunky.
Wondering if my internet was being
but
weird,
man, this game with a fucking G-Sync monitor running like 100 frames a second is a fucking sight to behold.
It's
Holy
amazing.
shit!
Yeah.
So I'm seeing that Burt Reynolds' Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit is in this game. So
approve.
I guess I have to play it now.
All right.
I also just want to say that I played this game by just signing up for a month of Xbox Game Pass, which means I paid like $12 for a month of this game, and I had a super good time with it. And someday I'd like to go back, but for now, I feel like that was a really cool.
You got your fill, and you're good.
That was a real good value for my money.
Yeah, I should do that for Crackdown 3. I'm told the Crackdown 3 multiplayer is apparently good, so we should do that for that, and then I'll play this.
I like how you turned down your detail settings, and now the video's even worse than it was before.
I don't know why it was like I said, it just like when I was playing it, it looked fine, but it was capturing looking like shit. One of the one new thing in this that wasn't in Horizon 3 is that stuff where you run through those stone fences and rocks fly all over the place, and I fucking love it. It's stupid, it doesn't make any sense, but it looks fucking cool.
I did that within like 2 minutes of starting the game.
Also, this game has the best sheep of the year also, so we should move on to the next thing.
We should move on.
All
right, number 4. Surprisingly, go ahead.
It's another thing Anthony can't play.
Yeah. Surprisingly, the top half of the list has no ties. Normally, we have a bunch.
That is kind
ties.
of surprising.
We have a real top 5.
So anyway, number 4, Marvel's Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I'm really sad about this one too.
Whip.
You should be sad.
Yeah.
So this is my game of the year this year.
Yeah, it's my fault. It's your fault for moving.
Yeah, I think it's your fault.
You could have played it.
You could just like pony up the $200 and buy a PS4. Like,
are they really only $200 now?
There was a bundle at Christmas. There was a bundle that included Spider-Man. It was $200 for a PS4 with Spider-Man in December. So you can get a used one, I'm sure.
I voted for this as well, but not that high.
Spider-Man. This game's real good. So remember earlier when we were talking about the Messenger, and I was like, man, traversal just like gets me in all the right places. This game has some real good traversal.
It does.
This footage is that I captured is what is being shown on the stream right now. And since this is like after I beat the game, it's literally just me swinging around the city doing like side missions because there's a bunch of that stuff to do. And so the swinging stuff is just like, yep, I'm a swing around the city. because that's what I'm gonna do, because it just feels so good. Like, I really liked Infamous for that reason.
Yep.
And I really like this because it you can. So we talked about this a little bit when I streamed this a number of weeks ago or 2 months ago or whenever that was. You can just hold the left or the right trigger. You can just hold it down and he'll keep going. But you're not getting your optimal swinging that way. Like, you're not going to move as quickly. You're not going to be as easily controllable if you do that, but you will get like across the city. So if you're like, I don't want to deal with doing anything, I'm just going to hold R2, like, that's fine, you can do that. But if you want to like swing around corners and swing down certain streets and get to certain places and cut off certain crimes that are in progress and stuff, like, you have to be
real fast
and go real fast. Yeah, you have to let go at a certain point and then re-stick at another point to like,
yeah, you essentially have to do the rhythm of the actual swing.
Yeah. Yep. So that stuff is all really great. It includes a bunch of outfits from different various Spider-Man.
I think a bunch is underselling it.
Yeah, right. You'll see in this footage, you will eventually see it. I do go into the screen.
I mean, there's got to be like 30.
Suits. I think so.
And they just added Gwen Stacy Spider-Man, apparently.
Oh, nice. I didn't see that.
The black and white one.
Okay, you probably have to have some of the DLC then, because I didn't see that.
I'm not sure. I hadn't checked.
I didn't see.
But
that
I had the DLC, so.
So, you know, it and all this stuff, like all the powers and everything, like, all makes sense.
There's a ton of customization that you can do for how you want to play it.
Yep.
Interestingly, and I noted this when I was talking to some of the folks here, like each of the suits has like an uber power associated with it, but as soon as you unlock the suit, you get the power and you can equip it independent of the suit. So it's not like, oh, I want this power, so I always got to be dressed as a person, you know, or dressed in this version of the suit. You can just say, well, I want to wear this, but I want that. You can totally mix and match it however you. You can build out your Spider-Man however you.
Yeah,
it's really nice how much customization there is, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a bunch of skill trees. All the suits have different suit powers, which are, you know, stuff from. The one that I used the most often was one that any thug that's holding a weapon will get electrocuted, like when you fire it off, and so it's not only makes them drop their weapons, but it stuns them, which is super useful.
Yeah, that is useful. I used the Iron Spider a lot, which is you have a bunch of mechanical spider arms that come out of your back and whip you around and start pummeling guys while you're punching them.
Yeah. Yep. It does the base of the combat is Arkham style, but it requires a little more skill than that. Like, Batman like magnets directly to dudes in the Arkham games. Like, you hit the button and he'll leap across an area to stick to the next dude and attack him. Spider-Man will not do that
outfit.
I'm wearing the Scarlet Spider outfit right now. But I did wear the Spider-Punk outfit for most of the game. But I also like the Scarlet Spider with the weird sleeveless hoodie that he wears. That's the one I'm wearing in this footage. Oh, okay. I think for the whole, I don't think I actually change it. I looked at changing it at one point. I pull up the suit menu, but I just leave this one on. But I also really like the Last Stand Spider-Man one where he's got like the cool leather jacket and jeans. That one I like too. Anyways, so, you know, you have to be a little more aware of the combat than you do in the Arkham games. Just mashing on the button forever will not win every fist fight.
Yeah.
And this game has some pretty good boss fights. I wouldn't put them on an Arkham City level of boss fight, but there's a really good one where you have to fight Vulture and Electro at the same time.
I like that one a lot.
That was super fun. And then there's a fight against Doc Ock that's really good. I don't know what's in the DLC because there's a lot of foreshadowing in the game, and even at the end of the main story, there's some foreshadowing about a particular Spider-Man villain that I don't know if that is something that comes through in the DLC or not because I haven't played any of it yet. But there's a good cross section of rogues galleries. There's characters you can meet that you don't really like. There's side missions that involve like Tombstone. There's a whole thing with Taskmaster that you don't have to do at all, but you can meet up with Taskmaster and fight him, and he is a son of a bitch when you fight him. Which makes sense because that's sort of, if you don't know comics, Taskmaster's a guy he's got like eidetic memory, and anything he sees, like he can replicate the technique. So he can fight as good as Captain America, and he can do gymnastics like Spider-Man, and he can do anything that like a sorry,
yeah, how's
did you
the
say eyebrows?
Taskmaster's eyebrows? Tell me about him.
Oh yeah, right. Different Taskmaster. But yeah, that's sort of his whole
He's got a
thing.
Shark and a Yeti and a mummy.
That's right. No, the mummy is the Yeti. We've been over this. Yep. And a Zodiac. So it's but yeah, it's the stealth parts are good. Like this thing you're gonna watch me fail a stealth mission about 4 times in a row here.
Nice.
But
how are the puddles?
Like the way the puddles are fine. I don't even know what that was all about.
Sorry.
Video game.
People are mad about puddles because that's an important thing that you need to worry about when you're playing a video game. Yeah, I don't know. It's the first game that I've played, and I've played a fair number of Spider-Man games. This one, in that way that people talk about, like it makes you feel like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In a way that the Batman Arkham games were sort of the first games to make you really feel like Batman, and not just a guy in a bat suit who punches everything.
I mean, that kind of is Batman, but.
I mean, it kind of is, but the whole thing about
is a guy in Batman suit that punches things, yeah.
But the whole thing about Batman, right, is that he's like this symbol of fear, right? And like
and you're actually scary in those games.
You actually scary in those games, and you can use that to deal with the different enemies and stuff. And in the same way in Spider-Man, like the webbing makes a difference, right? The way you use webbing in your different power-ups and the web bombs, and the way you do stealth takedowns by pulling dudes up out of nowhere with your webbing and all that stuff, like all that uses the character and his power set better than any other Spider-Man game that I can think of off the top of my head. And I haven't played every single one, so I guess maybe I'm not the authority, but I just, before I stop talking about this game, the only thing I feel like there needs right. Yeah. But I just wish that Superman, we need a Superman game that does that uses Superman in a way that
isn't that what Cheat Engine is for?
Cool.
Makes people care about Superman. You mean?
And makes people care about Superman. Yeah.
It isn't fucking.
You just play Just Cause and use Cheat Engine to make yourself immortal.
Yeah, you play Crackdown, and that's. So yeah, I don't know, Kurt. What do you think about Spider-Man?
So all that stuff he said is all true, and it looks gorgeous, as you might expect from an Insomniac game. They know how to make games look good. They know how to make games control well. All that is true. I didn't put it higher on my list because I had at various times a sense of tedium that bugged me. In that,
that never happened with me, honestly.
So how many warehouse or fortress missions did you do?
As many as I needed to get the next suit.
Okay.
So
there's a whole bunch of randomized. Go ahead.
I would reach a level, and it would be like, you need these tokens to unlock this suit that just unlocked with this level. And I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm going to go do the things I need to have those tokens and unlock that suit. And then keep doing the main story stuff. That's how I played this game.
Okay. So anytime you would do those, there's a bunch of randomized missions things that happen. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of missions. And there's a couple of them where essentially, in this spot in the city, is a fortress or a, warehouse or something like that is owned by one of the gangs.
Fisk construction sites, Demon
there's
warehouse.
A couple of different gangs. Yeah. So there are a couple of different ones. And in doing any of those and clearing them, you have to go through about 5 waves. at least.
Yeah, 5 or 6 waves.
Yeah, and so you can start the area, and you can be very stealthy, and you can take down every dude in the area stealthy if you're good at it. And then as soon as you get to wave 2, everyone knows where the fuck you are, and you have to start fighting them all straight up. It doesn't matter how well you did the first part. And then you have to grind your way through the next 5 of increasingly stronger dudes who start, having energy weapons that will stun you, and having rocket launchers, and having this and that. And none of that is impossible. It just takes way too long to grind through it all, I feel like.
So I will say
every time you want to do it,
you can, if you stay hidden for the whole wave, they'll send more dudes, but you're not automatically found, at least in some of them, because I definitely went like 2 or 3 waves deep without being seen in some of those.
I had never had that happen. Pull the last dude up in the way that you had first time you approached a stealth mission. Like when you yank a dude up, I would pull I had taken every other dude out. And as soon as I pulled the last dude up, the next dudes would come out, and they would immediately start shooting exactly where I was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every time.
Have you considered getting good?
Yes, I did, and I decided against it.
He never chooses that.
Yeah, so that was tedious, and there's also like later fights in the Arkham games. I felt the same way. Right, at some point, they just start throwing so many dudes at you that all have like shields and stun batons and this and that and the other thing. And it's just like, I know exactly what I need to do. It's just the mechanics of going through it, after the first like 5 minutes started to become tedious.
So I did this thing that I do with Deus Ex games as well, where I have like 6 Praxis kits available to me at any given time. And like after a while, I would stockpile my leveling up points in this game. I forgot what they're called. I think they are just called points. I would stockpile them, and then it would be like, oh, I'm in a spot where I'm fighting these dudes, and like having that ability where I can pull their shield away and swing it back at them would be super helpful. So now I'm just gonna like buy that ability because now I have the points for it.
So, okay.
So that's how I sort of addressed that, and I felt I don't know. I thought the combat felt so good in this game that it
does feel really good.
Even failing some of those a bunch of times, I still was like ready to go.
I will note that the breaking point for me on that was when eventually a mercenary force arrives. And some of them have jetpacks.
Yep.
And you have to fight them on top of buildings with also other dudes who have homing rocket launchers on like 3 different building tops, and you're fighting them in like 4 different areas. And it just was like, just fucking stop.
So, did you finish the game or no?
I did. I totally did.
Okay. So the way I dealt with those,
I was at max level, and I have like tokens and points left because I kept acquiring them.
Yeah.
And there's nothing left.
There's nothing else to unlock.
Yeah. There's no other abilities for me to unlock.
Are there any other big picture things? Because we should probably move on from the strategy.
We should move on. I just wanted to get my complaints out.
Actually, as the only person here who really has to go to bed, I'm going to suggest that maybe we kind of gloss over our next one since we did a whole stream on it. And devote a bit more time to numbers 1 and 2, which we haven't talked about much.
I think that's valid.
Sure.
In fact, like last week, or actually earlier. So we're done with that.
Yeah, well, that's why I was just asking
3.
if there was any other big picture thing instead of.
No, it's great. If you have a PS4, it's 100% worth checking out.
Yeah, none of that is in any way me saying this game is bad or whatever. Just like in comparison to other things that I played this, that knocked it down a few.
Okay.
So anyway, all right.
Number
3.
Yeah, what's that?
Slay the Spire.
Do we like this game?
Oh yeah,
we like this game.
Yeah, we do. It's a great game.
So, as Mike noted, we did do actually a separate stream on this because I was given this game in the Christmas gift exchange, and so we talked a whole bunch about it.
We delved deep into the mechanics on that stream.
Yep.
Yeah, just a couple days ago, but it is super fun.
It's a roguelike card game deck builder thing with great art, and really, really cool character classes and a lot of interesting builds that you can make, and it's really good.
Yep. Agreed.
I don't want to sell it short, but we talked about it for 45 minutes like 3 days ago. And it's super awesome. And so go play it. And also, I really want to have a discussion about our next two, which we have basically not touched on kind of at all this year.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
All right,
okay.
So that's Slay the Spire.
So,
like I said, it's just it is kind of an immaculately designed thing that doesn't really exist anywhere else. And if you're like building decks and like exploiting weird mechanics in games, then it is an ideal thing to just play over and over and over again, which I did this year. And also, hilariously, it came out like 2 weeks ago in 2019, but we all played it in early access in 2018, and it was good.
Also, it was done in 2018.
They've, like rebalanced
all the stuff that mattered.
Important stuff was there.
Complete.
So.
By December, everything you needed was there, including the final boss.
Look at me, you get a choke in the first battle. Hell yeah!
All right, nice. So how about we just skip right on to number 2?
Number 2, Return of the Obra Dinn.
Yeah, that is a cool ass game.
That is a cool ass game. I voted it number 1. For me.
I think it's 4th for me and 3rd for Eric, from what I've seen.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it, and I found it very. I think it's one of those games that's going to stay with me for a very long time.
For those that don't know, this is the follow-on game from Pope, who did Papers, Please. It is nothing like Papers, Please.
It's nothing like really any game I've played.
Yeah, it is a
it's an
puzzle detective game.
Yeah.
With an incredibly cool throwback art style. He made it in this 1-bit graphics.
It's like an old Mac
old
game
PC or
from
Mac
like
games,
1985 or something.
Yeah, if you knew like Dark Castle,
very much.
You would know exactly what it looks like if that meant.
Or like the old Mac Venture games, but if you had a 1-color Macintosh display, right? Like if you take out the fact that it's in 3D, if you were just to freeze frame any given spot of it, it looks like an adventure game illustration from that period.
Yeah,
which is really cool and doesn't really play into the game much at all.
Yeah,
like there's no hidden twist 3/4 of the way through the game where you get up from the computer and it's actually it's 1986 and you're in, it's not that. It's just
this is not Assassin's Creed Obra Dinn or something.
It is literally a like pirate adventure detective game. And later on you find out that it has some sort of fantastical elements, but it's not.
Yeah, it's
but only in the way that one of those stories would.
That's what it is.
Yes, that's everyone's favorite genre.
Everyone's favorite genre. I mean, how many of these have you played? And yet this one is really good.
Somehow they keep them fresh. Don't ask me.
So you start the game. You are an insurance
a boat
investigator
returns that people thought was lost, and you return to the boat, and you go onto the boat, and you find a corpse, and you're looking around, and you can't open a door, and so you return, and you open this box that has a magical watch and a book inside, and the book is the list of all the people from the boat, along with a picture of all the people on the boat. And you grab the watch, and you leaf through the book, and there's not a lot of information in there, and then you return to the boat, and you take your watch to the first corpse, and
it has the magical power to let you see the moment of someone's death frozen in time, but you can walk all around in 3 dimensions and examine everything that's happening and hear like the audio that was playing shortly before they were killed. Your job is just to put together everything in the book, what happened to each person on the ship,
who each person is, how they died,
and when applicable,
or whether
who
they
killed
died,
them,
what happened to them.
Yeah,
because the ship has been there's no one left alive on the ship, and so it's like, what happened to all these people? How did we get here?
Mm-hmm. And like, it's a very simple concept, but I don't know, it's something somewhere between the aesthetics and also the fact that to solve the game you have to really put yourself in the place and just absorb every single detail I found that really made the game stick with me. Is like it starts out pretty easy, like, oh, here's this guy in the captain's quarters who the people are addressing as the captain. Maybe it's the captain. I'm not sure.
Turns out that's the captain, I bet.
You know, and this guy that he shot, well, that guy got shot by the captain.
By the captain, so I got that.
It starts off pretty straightforward. But later in the game, you're getting to the point where it's like, well, okay, so this guy in the background is in the photo with this other guy, which means that they probably do the same kind of job, and maybe they're from the same country.
Let me tell you about numbers on hammocks and how that relates to people's positionings on the ship.
Oh, I didn't use those.
How did you figure out who the Russian guys were without the numbers on the hammocks?
They spoke Russian.
Yeah, but that's how you figure out who's
playing a poker game.
Yeah, that's how you figure out who's who.
Well, okay, if one has a gripe about this game, it's that it is possible to cheese it a little bit by occasionally just slotting in names and hoping you get something right. So I mean, there were two Russian guys.
That is somewhat true, but there is as you go along, right? You're filling all these things in. When you get any three correct, it will confirm that you have them correct.
Yeah, it locks in your selections.
Yeah, it locks them in. So you can't like super cheese it. You have to do some amount of work. But once you get down far enough, you can be like, well, it's either this guy is this guy or that guy is that guy, and
you swap them back and forth.
You could brute force it once you got far enough.
But locking them in is really cool because not only does it give you some concrete information, it also shows you all the things that you had supposed which are not true. And so you'll be like, wait a second, I'd filled in 5 pages, but only 3 of them are right, which means I was so sure that this guy was so-and-so, and he must not be. Like, he must be someone totally other person.
It forces you to constantly re-examine not just your own assumptions, but the manner in which you make those assumptions.
Yeah, exactly. And you can... The interesting thing is that the way it's laid out, right, there's a storyline for how all this stuff went down. But the way in which you find the bodies and work your way through it is not linear.
Yeah.
And is not even like anti-linear. Like you don't just go start at the end and work backwards. You jump around a bit, and so you're finding things as you go. And you're like, well, I see this scene, and there's somebody that's already lying dead, like stabbed over there. What the fuck happened to them? When they're not even the focus of the body that I found.
Yeah, exactly.
Or there's like some guy like running up this. Where's he going? Why is he running?
Yeah, exactly. Is he with these people? Is he against them? Is he doing some totally different thing?
Right.
Like there's one guy that I had a super hard time figuring out what happened to him. And, at some point, basically, the ship gets attacked by a giant squid, right? That's the kind of thing that happens in these stories.
Well, I want to just highlight how amazing the reveal is, because the first chain of bodies that you find is just like people killing each other, and it's right at the end of the story.
I'm really sad I was listening.
And then you find this one body.
Anthony, stop listening to us now and go play.
And all of a sudden,
set up front.
Shit is fucking going wrong in a way that is
popping off.
Like you go like from like, oh, this is a weird mystery to like, what the fuck happened here? Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
We don't need to delve into the details because I don't know that it's...
You don't even know that the dial goes to 12.
It's not necessarily relevant to the thing, but it just gets... Shit goes off the rails in ways that you can't possibly imagine. And even when you see the thing, you're like, how could this possibly get any worse? And then you go further back and it's like, oh shit, it got worse. It was worse. How could it keep getting worse?
Exactly.
Yeah. There were 3 separate times, I think, where I loaded up a scene. I was just like, what?
There's also there's a couple of times where, like you said, you sort of re-examine your things. You're like, this is what happened, and it looks really obvious that that's correct. And then something else goes down, and you're like, oh my god, I missed this whole thing over here.
Mm-hmm.
And this all went down, and that changes.
Right. And you can actually you can chain. You not only can you find bodies in the ship itself, but you find like bodies that people that died inside the visions of other people's memories. So you're like chaining back like 3 or 4 different segments in time and traveling not just on the ship but in other places as well. And it's like it's just a very immaculately designed little puzzle box. That
super satisfying to peel apart.
The reason it wasn't number 1 for me is just because after you finish it, you don't get access to those memories in an easy way, so you have to like go back and you have to go
find the
back
first
through
guy
the
who saw
ship,
the dead
and then
guy in his
if you
memory.
want to get those ones those infinitely nested ones, then you have to find the first guy, and it was kind of a pain in the ass to finish it, but I had an amazing first like 4.5 hours with the game, and it still was number 3 on my list because it's such a cool story. It's such a cool looking thing, and it's such a, like I said, it's just a really well assembled little puzzle box. And as you pick it apart, it's just like you can't believe how well, like all these little details,
and that it's all
that would just be there for
one
background in other games are integral to you solving the puzzle box, and it's just really good.
It's one of my favorite genres is to take a small space and to make every part of it count, and that's something that games don't do enough, I find, and this is a really stellar example of that.
In an era when games
takes
continually get bigger, this one is like hyper focused on the details of just a fairly small little ship. So
plus you learn something.
Yeah, there's like what 40.
Yeah. Also, the music stingers are really great, and the little vignettes of the dialogue and stuff,
like
are great.
dynamic music that, like dynamic music stingers that play as you figure things out, and it's just very satisfying. Anyway, highly recommended. And Anthony, if you were listening, you should still play it. There are still surprises, and it's worth it.
It won't matter.
Yeah, I actually captured just enough footage to show the first big reveal, but I'm gonna stop it before we get there. So
yeah, cut that video off right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we've made it.
All right,
After
we're at number
3
1.
hours. The number 1 game of
2 hours and
2019.
38
What could that
minutes.
possibly be? 2018.
Yeah, we got going a little late.
I sat down here at 10. It's been 3 hours.
Fair enough.
What is the best possible game of 2018, Kurt?
It is Celeste.
Yeah.
Number 1 for Mike. Number 2 for me.
Hey, I played that.
Yeah, it is my game of the year, for sure. As soon as I saw someone playing this game, I watched a little tiny stream of Patrick Klepek throwing himself at the first couple levels. Just the second that I saw it, I knew it was going to be something special, based on like it's a platformer with pixely graphics, but it has a really kind of not morose, but that's the word I'm looking for. Melancholy. It's a very melancholy feel. The soundtrack is so strong and integral.
One of the best soundtracks I've ever heard.
Just amazing work.
And to continue the theme, traversal is a dream.
Oh my god, so good. This is a game that uses 3 buttons, come up with a little move set, and then wrings every possible ounce of goodness it can from them. And it's just tuned to perfection. Like, it plays super well.
Right. I mean, it borrows
the level design.
the bounce jump that was in what was the first Matt Makes Games thing that came out on the
Towerfall?
Yeah, the Towerfall jump, and then it adds a little bit to it, and it's just like that game felt very good to play, and this game also feels very good to play. And then, but instead of running around and shooting arrows at your buddies, you're traversing and dashing and dodging, and it just.
And Towerfall is a game that kind of gets by on chaos and just having a lot of stuff happening all the time. And this is the complete opposite. This is a game with no random elements, and there's not a lot of clutter happening. It's just every screen you come into is just you trying to puzzle your way up through some really well designed, just amazingly well designed, fiendish platforming levels. And that's great, but I think that's only part of the story. I think the reason why this game works so well for me is that it also has a story, and I think that the story and theming of the game, they're good on their face, but what I love about them is how they interface with the mechanics, how they reinforce what you're doing, the way the game plays, just the themes of, Madeline is climbing the mountain because she's got some issues she wants to work through.
Anxiety and depression, and trying to figure out who she wants to be and stuff like that.
And like what she learns over the course of the climb is that she can't just wish away the parts of her personality that she doesn't like. She has to accept them and learn how to work with them, and doing that makes her into a better, stronger person, more capable. And I think it's a really cool, interesting message that's reinforced by the mechanics of the game. And also just the fact that, this is supposed to be hard, and she's putting herself through something that's kind of an ordeal, and she knows that it's going to be difficult. I as the game very often is. But at the same time, it's not about succeeding or failing, right? It's about trying and pushing your way through. And the game is really difficult, but also has this whole suite of assist modes you can turn on, and it lets you turn them on without any judgment. It's like nowhere in the game does it say like, well, if you want the
Ninja
true
dog
ending, you're gonna
mode.
have to. Yeah, exactly. You know, like it's like, hey, you want an extra dash in the air? No problem. Go ahead. You know, you want to be able to cling to the wall forever without getting tired? That's fine. Just do it. Just turn it on.
I was waiting for you guys to finish up before I was going to bring up exactly that. I really liked that it was so flexible, because I think it would have undermined its own message if it didn't provide that.
Yeah, I agree. I like that all that was there, although any of it on, and that is not me trying to, throw out my EP or anything like that, because I finished the main portion.
I didn't futz with any of that
right,
stuff.
but I liked that it was there.
Yeah.
I finished every level that there was in the game with 33 hours and 8,000 deaths.
Yeah, that was actually.
I saw that video you posted, Mike, of your last run of the last area.
Yeah,
I shook my head and said no.
But I don't know, something about the way the game phrases the whole thing made me want to do that stuff. You know, like the fact that they're just like, look, you don't have to do this, or you can make it easier if you want to. But just, I don't know, combining with the themes of the game, it just made me want to push through. And the fact that the platform was just so good. Like, just amazing controls, amazing level design. It's
the best pure platformer since Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, and I personally prefer it on every level to that game.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
the little micro control you have is something I think you don't even gel onto for hours.
What do you mean by micro control?
Like I feel like you have more control over the direction you take at any given moment than it feels like you do at first.
Yeah, it is hyper responsive.
You just don't know how hyper responsive it is until you've been doing it for a while.
And that ties into the third thing that I love about this game, which is one of my favorite things about Super Metroid was always that the game has so much depth in the ability set of your character, but it keeps it from you. Like when you start playing that game, you don't realize, 3/4 of the things that Samus will eventually be able to do, and a lot of them are never spelled out for you, or they're not in the manual. And in a smaller kind of way, Celeste is the first game that I've played in years that managed to surprise me that way. So I told Anthony about this, and I think you might have had the same experience as me afterwards, which is I loaded up my first speed run of the game after I'd played about half of it, and I watched what was happening, and I was baffled. I was like, what is this person doing? They're not playing the same game that I am. And that's because the game it has a hidden level of controls that they don't spell out for you until very, very, very late in the game. Like you have to do all the optional levels to get any tips towards doing some of the more advanced moves. And they are, as Eric would say, tricks that you can do with your momentum to send yourself hurtling through the air at ridiculous speeds, and in some cases, go upwards, or in other cases, you can earn yourself kind of an extra dash by skipping across the ground like a stone on a lake. And they let you break the level design wide open if you start using them early on, or they just let you finish the damn game if you use them later on where you have no choice but to do so. But learning and pulling off those moves just gave me an appreciation for the level design and mechanics design of this game. It's on a level that I've very rarely seen, and it just rewards you investing yourself in it so much. And it makes for some of the best speedruns of any game that I've ever seen. I know that not everyone here is a big fan of watching speedruns, but I like the game's done quick things that happen twice a year. I've actually watched 3 or 4 separate speedruns for this game all the way through, and each one has been different and really interesting, and caused me to just kind of gape in disbelief in different ways at different times. So I don't know. I like this game. Did you maybe get that from my?
No, I was just kind of trying to stay out of the way. It's really good. I think that it's one of those. This is one of those weird things where a video game addresses an actual topic in its story and plot in a way that is actually the thing it reminds me the most of is a movie I used to watch a lot when I was a kid, which was the Care Bears movie. And it's like the writing is fine, and it's like, oh yeah, it's like she's going through some stuff in her head and she's climbing a mountain. It's like, it's a metaphor, man. You get it? And it's like, but it's done well enough that you can kind of overlook the sort of triteness of the metaphor that they go with to begin with, or they go at it in a way that's so earnest that it doesn't feel as bad as it maybe should. But I said, I like I like pretty much everything in this game. For me, it was the soundtrack that really makes it all come together. That was the part of it that made me feel the things that they were trying to make me feel, aside from just the fact that it's like such a fucking good platformer.
Yeah,
I really feel like Lena Raine's soundtrack is kind of like the heart and the beating soul of the game that sort of elevates it beyond.
It's essential.
It's
like the disaster
good
piece music.
Yeah, it's what elevates it from just being a very, very good platformer to being like one of my favorite games.
It's funny. I really enjoyed the soundtrack when I played it, and then kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, it's better when you listen to it.
And then last month, when we were talking about like best albums of the year, you guys mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
Like both, like you and Mike both, and I was like, really? That like it was like such a time and place kind of thing, and so I went back and just listened to it, and I was like, holy shit, this is really good. Like without the game,
I think it's
that track from the first area is what made me fall in love with the game.
Resurrections or the
no from
the
Lost City. Kind of the main theme.
I like one of the things that I really like about them is that they are sort of like, at first glance, a lot of the stuff in the soundtrack sounds like it's just like a normal video game theme where it's got this catchy little keyboard synth thing. She uses like some chiptune stuff. She uses some actual like pianos and things. She's like a classically trained composer that went to art school for music composition and stuff. And she mixes like traditional video game themes with synthesizer stuff and actual pianos and drum loops and stuff. And when you're playing the game, you really don't notice how many different layers of that there is. But then when you listen to the actual soundtrack, it's just like, it really like, it borrows a lot of things from other like platformer video game soundtracks, but then it layers on this other stuff that just makes it so much better.
It's got a richness, like a depth.
It's just like it has like the really catchy main melodic line that you need to make a really good video game soundtrack, and then there's all this other stuff on it that gets layered in that makes it a really, really good thing to just listen to. There was a really good Erica LaHaye, who's Lena's girlfriend, included a little thing in her Game of the Year list on Giant Bomb about how much of herself that Lena sort of poured into that and how much time she spent on it. And it's like 2 hours long. And I don't love everything on the soundtrack to just listen to, but there's like...
No, there's a lot of music.
Like some of it, I mean, a lot of it is stuff that just works within the context of the game, and that's fine. But there's like 45 minutes or so of music in there that was possibly my favorite album of the year. It's just, there's a lot
I think
of
I agree.
Really, really amazingly good stuff in there.
Piano Collection just came out.
I haven't checked that out yet, but I probably will.
Trevor Gomez, he's pretty good.
Anyways, I think it's just like I said, it is a fantastic platformer. The other thing is that it's just like every like half an hour, 45 minutes or so, it introduces a new way for your basic mechanics to interact with the world. Like this place I just got to in the video where like you meet your doppelganger, and then it opens up these like gels that you can like
the jelly
fly
blocks
through and you have to like be careful not to fly yourself into a wall. But like the game just constantly adds new tweaks, new mechanics, new ways for your power to interact, and it's just like it never really gets dull. It's like one of the breadcrumb trails that really pulls you through the game is just seeing what each of those different things is going to be in each area. It's really, really cool.
Man, I took little videos of this game when I got towards the later level Anthony was mentioning, and sometimes I will load those up again and be like, I can't believe I did that.
My biggest problem was that I bought it on the Switch, and I despise the Switch's D-pad and wish I had bought it on PC so I could use an actual decent controller instead. But you said you did pretty...
I played the whole thing on Switch and had no issues.
I played most of it in portable mode on the Switch.
I mean, I finished it on Switch, but there were times where my hands were cramping up and like my arms were going numb because of the way I was trying to contort my hand to either use the D-pad or use the. I don't really like using analog sticks for first-person platformers.
With both this and Hollow Knight, I found my hands felt way better using the Switch and portable than it did when I was freewheeling.
I like the portable mode better, but I don't like the fact that there's nothing to grip onto just ergonomically. I just don't like it, but that's not in fault of this game, so I didn't hold it against it. But I'll get the PC version at some point and see how far I can, because like I said, I finished it, but it felt like it was more difficult than it should have been.
Well, it is difficult. I thought that it controlled really, really well, so it was very difficult. I didn't feel frustrated by controls.
Like I said, I didn't think it was the controls. It was the
different hands.
But yeah,
we got different hands.
I agree with Eric.
just for its ability to kind of blend everything together between the story, the themes, the music, the levels. I think that's what makes it such a great game. Is not any one aspect of it, but I think it all gels together superbly well.
It is well deserved.
So rare that.
Game of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, is that where we're at? We're at like the game of the year?
We're at the game of the year.
We just
Which
finished.
is Celeste. Okay, got it.
Well, what was yours, Alex?
I don't know.
What about you, Anthony?
I mean,
you weren't here when I talked about Prey Moon Crash.
That's up there. Prey is probably number 2 or 3, but I would say Hollow Knight only because it came out on Switch this year, and that's when I played it.
Yeah, I also played Hollow Knight.
You guys played it last year.
Yeah, I'm so happy that everyone's putting on their list this year, though. Like, I don't care.
I was really sad that so many
year.
people whiffed on that last year.
And I played both of these games, and it just barely beat out Celeste.
Yeah. And I didn't put Hollow Knight high enough on my list last year, so
that's true. You didn't.
It's good that people.
I was 6th on my list last year, and it couldn't have gotten any higher than that.
I don't understand.
Last year was a fucking ridiculously stacked year for video games.
I didn't like anything.
Nothing from this year beats Hollow Knight from last year. That's kind of where I'm at as far as that stuff.
That's fair. Yeah,
but
I really
most games that have ever been made don't beat Hollow Knight though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
statistically, I'm not. Maybe it's not the
Apparently, there were
at
least 5 last year.
Speaking of math.
Yeah, exactly. The problem with what's my game of the year for this past year is that most of the games I played this year were games that were not from 2018. And the ones I did play were good. It's just, I caught up on a lot of older stuff.
Yeah, I believe you played Subnautica this year. So
oh, yeah.
Subnautica was good. Gotcha.
Gotcha, bitch. No, what is it? I think it's the second time on the stream today I've said that. But there was 12 hours in between or something like that.
True.
I don't know. Monster Hunter, I guess, is
Monster Hunter just barely missed my top 10, but I had a good time with that.
I mean, yeah, I played it a bunch. I actually was just talking to somebody about this at my friend's birthday party that I went to, and that game's really cool, but there's just not enough monsters. Yeah. There's just not. And it's so there's kind of diminishing returns. They also changed the armor skill system, so it's you can make your character better than you can ever make your character in any Monster Hunter game. And then on top of that, all the weapons have expanded move lists, which is cool, but it all comes together to make it's just you're fighting things you've already fought before, and you're super strong. And you can just beat everything, and it's no problem. And it's well, so there's nothing to do. There's no reason to go back right now.
Did you guys?
But the new expansion looks cool. Anyway,
what? Did you guys list Smash?
Yep, it made the list.
Okay,
it was not in the top 10.
All right.
That game's whatever. Who cares?
15th.
It's fun. I've been having a lot.
It's just that was actually this also came up earlier today, which is we were talking about how Smash and Mario Kart are two things that are just constants, and they're always going to be good. And
whatever the most recent one is one I will play at any time that anyone else wants to.
Yeah, and it's that's fine, but it's also just not. Since I'm not a Smash guy, it's not something I'm excited about because it's always there. You know what I mean? It's I guess it's having an embarrassment of riches.
You take it for granted.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
It's just not something I can get hyped about because it's I know Smash Brothers is always going to be fun.
I'll throw one last one that I know you guys didn't talk about, even though I've talked to at least Eric about this before, which is Pokemon Let's Go. It, like, as far as looking for a game to play with your 3-year-old, like, man, this past year is just seeing her actually want to play video games has been super cool for someone who also grew up with them, and it's also
who also wants to play video games.
Yeah, right.
There's a little bit of that there, yeah.
It's also like, I don't know, it's like an extremely very good looking remake of the only Pokemon game I ever played. So it's like a nice trip down memory lane for me, and it's just, I don't know, it's been a lot of fun.
It's extremely very good looking.
That one's probably in my near future.
Extremely very good. It's just the art style is so good.
Is it very extremely good looking?
Yeah, and you can ride on dragons and stuff. It's very nice.
Clutch on the Snorlax's belly.
You can. It's great. Oh.
Yeah. My favorite Pokemon.
I guess, what did I play this year that was from this year?
While you think about that, I think I may have to be calling this a night because it's very late over here.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
This is great.
Thanks all for John at me. Games are great.
Games are great.
I didn't think this was going to be as good of a year as other years have been lately, but in the end, like, my top 5 is super solid. I love the top 5 games on my list.
I love my top 15.
Did you guys mention Overcooked 2?
No, I didn't, but that game's cool.
We did not. I had it in the
really
running
good.
at various points. It was really good. But
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, bye, Mike.
Bye.
Mike.
Bye, Mike.
Thank you.
Aaron Hickman asked if we mentioned Red Dead Redemption 2, and we did not.
I don't think any of us played that, did we?
The only person I think that has it
I
is
have it
me.
too.
I haven't. Oh, that's right. We did talk
I
about
have
the opening, but I think we've just both only played the opening.
Is there anything else?
Do you know what I have? No interest in that game.
All right. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that we feel we need to shout out before I end this? And
I will. Let's see.
Yes, in 2 years I will return to this and tell you guys how good Nintendo Labo is.
Okay. Joe's 2017.
Why is it in
game
2 years? Because it's like ages 5 and up, and she's 3.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Joe's 2017 game of 2018 is Hollow Knight.
It is Hollow Knight. It's true.
And my 2004 game of 2018 is Katamari Damacy Reroll.
Oh yeah,
because it turns out that game is
that's
still
by far the best game
great.
we talked about tonight.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I was like, should I put this? I could put it at number 1 because it's still really goddamn
legally
good.
that counts.
It does count.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Maybe that's the best game I played this year.
Definitely has the best soundtrack.
Yeah,
it has the best soundtrack for sure.
God damn.
Or from 2018, I bought that and Smash.
Yeah, I blew a guy's
on
mind.
the same day, actually.
Because when I was flying back from Las Vegas, I was sitting there with my Switch on my lap, and a guy walked down the aisle. He's like, "Did you get Smash?" I was like, "No, I'm playing Katamari Damacy." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "It came out today. I downloaded it right before I left the hotel." He's like, "Oh my god!"
Stop the plane.
Wait, I need Wi-Fi.
So yeah, Hollow Knight's super good.
Those are the only things that we had listed off to the side.
All right.
I want to just shout out 3 really short things that are less than 90 minutes. One is Umfend, one is Paratropic, and there's let me do 2 more. There's one called All Our Asias and one called Un Pablo de Nada, and those are all like short little some of them, I would say somewhere between 30 and 90 minutes at the absolute longest, and they're all like little short story games that Umfend and Paratropic are like weird psychedelic horror things that people should experience those. They can both be had for like $5, I think, on Steam or itch.io.
Are those okay.
All Our Asias, I think, is a thing about like memory and about this guy who's, I think it was his brother that was killed, or no, maybe his grandfather. I can't remember now what it was, but it's like a bunch of little vignettes of story scenes that was really kind of beautiful. And then The other one is Un Pablo de Nada is like a little short thing that the Kentucky Route Zero team put out that takes place in the TV station in Kentucky Route Zero, and there's just a bunch of little short scenes in there, and that like everything that team does is like exactly the thing that I want the most.
They ever finish that
No,
game?
they were supposed to be finished this year, but they haven't finished it yet. But
Yeah,
but I like, even if you haven't checked out any of the Kentucky Route Zero stuff, that Un Pablo de Nada thing is very worth playing. Even if you're waiting until Kentucky Route Zero is officially done before you touch it, that thing is worth. I think it's free. I don't think you even need to buy the game to have played it.
I think all of the side stuff they've done.
This is by far the best of the side stuff that they've put out, in my opinion. And I like a lot of that stuff, but this was really, really good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I played a lot of games this year. I played like 36 games this year. It's like there's too many fucking video games, you guys. I've gone from like the golden age of video games, yay, to like I don't know what video games to play, so I'm just gonna play a million hours of Overwatch and Hearthstone and like touch these other things when it bubbles up. But otherwise, I'm like frozen by my indecision because of all the fucking video games.
Yep.
I hear you.
Hey, instead of playing that thing do you want to play Destiny 2 with me?
Hell
do the same one thing
that's
over
what I
and
want
over
to
and
do. Is
over
I just want
again?
to keep getting
Fuck
it
yeah.
every night. I want to play Destiny 2 for an hour, even though there's all this other stuff.
I was at my friend's birthday party today, which is like a group of nerds, and we're all talking about like, because he knows me, right? So we're all nerds. And the question that comes up is like,
Checks out so far.
Yeah, what are you playing these days, Alex? And I was like, and I literally told the same thing. I said the same thing to everybody, which is, I'm playing a lot of Destiny 2 because I don't have a problem.
It's fun. That they overhauled that, so that and Hearthstone both got huge overhauls, and at least Hearthstone did in the arena mode. The regular fucking game, the constructed is a fucking mess, and always will be, because it's just not. The way that they produce cards is always going to make it like a very limited number of viable decks, and when it's not just that, people just complain constantly. So it's always going to be a mess. But they overhauled the arena system. They added this thing with the buckets where it's like they give you like certain quality of cards, and then you pick which one you want instead of just picking a bunch of random cards, which makes it much easier to construct different types of decks. And it also means that they can adjust like pick rates for different classes, which makes it so that the classes are more of an even power level without having to worry about like how they print cards for constructed. Anyway, that only means something to me, but
Eric, are you playing Celeste? Or
this is a video of me playing it.
No, that's video that he played earlier. I'm getting PTSD from watching him do the section I've already watched him do, and fucking up in exactly the same way.
That's how you play this game. But anyway, I just wanted to say about Hearthstone is that's a game that I've put like probably maybe multiples of thousands of hours into at this point. It's a thing that I play on my phone every time I take a shit, and I play a game sometimes like. I usually play a game or two before I go to bed, and I like arena is my chosen mode, and Blizzard has just been ignoring it since the game came out in like 2014, and they finally went in and changed a bunch of stuff and made it a lot better, and now it's actually something that I feel like I could recommend, and that it's also a thing that instead of just being a random smattering of cards, like it emphasizes like skillful play and thoughtful play, and I'm really, really happy that that's finally in a place where it's not just a mess all the time. They went from doing nothing to like making like a solid B+ effort over the course of this year, and it's really, really good. That probably would have been my game of the year if I could have justified putting a musty old mode from a game that came out 5 years ago on my list.
I totally think you could have.
Anyway, good year for video games. Let's keep playing video games together sometimes. Should we go do that now?
Did you guys talk about Dead Cells?
We did talk about Dead Cells.
We did.
That's fantastic.
Okay, all right. Well, then I won't.
We did.
All right.
Then I
Well,
won't.
we can keep talking, but I'm going to end my portion of the stream and call this the official end. Unless there's anything else from 2018 that we feel really needs to be shouted out.
I have one more nice game that I've spent way more time than I was expecting. There's an iOS game called Card Thief, which I told Kurt
I totally played that. It's really good.
I really like it. It's not like challenging, at least not from where I have gotten to in it. But it's got a really pleasant sort of like cycle of hey, if you want to power up these cards, you have to do these very tricky specific things, which makes it a little more challenging. And then you do that, and then like, I don't know, it's good. It's
good. I like that
it's
a whole lot. I didn't even put that on my list. God, it's like 38 games that I played this year.
I just opened my phone to do something else and saw it sitting there. I was like, oh yeah, I spent a ton of time on that.
And there's still so many games I haven't played, like Vampire and Long Gone Days, and I haven't played the Deltarune thing, the Undertale thing, or Time Spinner, or...
Oh, fuck. That would probably be on my list, too. I really liked it.
Did you guys talk about Tetris Effect?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I think we covered all the bases.
We got everything. All right. That's it.
Good job, 20.
I think so.
We can keep talking, but I'm gonna end the stream and we'll start playing some video games.
We're good
for Extra Life. But yeah, 2018. There's a lot of fucking video games. Holy shit. That's my final statement.
Good job, 2018. You did it. That's
all right. Stop recording. Stop streaming. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next year.
I thought we were doing this for 24 hours.
Yeah, we're bye.
You on YouTube?
It's on YouTube because that's the stream key that's in my thing right now. What music do you want? Funky fanfare?
Yeah, I'm watching
do you
YouTube.
Want?
Yes, funky fanfare.
There you go.
Although I usually mute it because I don't want to hear your voice. Yeah, there they are.
They're sleeping. It's nighttime. There's the guinea pigs. All right.
All right. So what are we doing now? So just to some of the chat stuff that went on during that whole nonsense.
Okay,
I'm not going to hit everything, but just a couple of things. So David Restless Corpse did say that Resident Evil 2 does say Resident Evil 2 if you have the old school soundtrack enabled. It does say that.
It should do it anyways. It's bullshit.
I'm surprised it doesn't do
that. Also, some people in the chat, or one person in the chat asked, so was kind of surprised, and I was kind of surprised that we didn't mention Red Dead Redemption 2, which I didn't even play, but everybody else in the world seemed to love it.
I name checked. I responded to that specific one.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it now if you want. It just wasn't relevant to our end of the year discussion because I don't think any of us put enough time into it.
You should talk about it in like an hour and a half after I leave.
Well, what do you want to? We should play something now that you're here.
So what are we doing now? You're actually, the way YouTube works, I don't know how long you were off, but this might be just adding on to the end of the stream that you just ended. Because if you don't, you don't break long enough,
I have a recorded version of that, so that ends like at the hard point, so that I can rip the audio out of it. But if we need to, we can use that to upload it and just have the thing. I don't actually know. I don't know how this ended, but I can stop. Well, what do you guys want to do? We want to play something here?
The way I see it, there's a couple options.
Did you get a Blackout Club, Anthony?
I was going to ask you about it and forgot to. I can still purchase that and download it if you like.
You can if you want to. Do we have enough time to do that? Because Kurt and Joe and I don't have it, but...
I didn't actually... Well, I was streaming, so I didn't actually download it because I didn't want it to mess up my stream quality.
3 hours.
So I have not... Well, if someone would have reminded me before we started doing that, and I wasn't hosting the stream, I would have done it then. But I wasn't.
Yeah. So why don't I purchase it and Joe and I will download it, and meanwhile we'll play some of the indie games that Coffee
here
is raring to go.
Yes.
He's in like another channel.
Okay. Well, tell him to get in here then.
All right, hold on.